Bonjour, hola, and sawadee ka, everybody. You are listening to Worldwide Tea. It is the international drag race podcast where every single week we go ahead and recap and recut and analyze and give you all the tea on everything about the international seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. As always, I am Evan Sawdey from Pop Matters.
I'm Gregory Ellwood. I am from the playlist, and you can also read me in the LA Times.
And listen, it is yet another busy week. Unfortunately, we do not have another winner swinging by our studio to give us a quick talk over there. But thank you for everyone who listened to our interview with UK6 winner Kyron Thrax the other week. It was fabulous and a wonderful time. And guess what? We have another winner today because this week we have finally hit not the grand finale, but the grand finale of Drag Race Espana. And next week we'll have two finales where we have Drag Race Thailand, thank God, and also our beloved Drag Race Down Under will also be hitting it as well. All while Canada goes on. Y'all, it's a busy, busy time. So we're going to get into it. We have a lot to say over here. It's going to be, I'll be honest, Greg and I were talking right before we hit the record button here, and there's kind of going to be a dearth of seasons going on right now. I feel like since we started this podcast several weeks ago, we've always had at least three going
Yeah.
at any given time. And after next week, when Thailand and Down Under roll up, I'm not sure what happened, but we'll only have Canada left. Greg, as the insider knowledge person over here, do we know why the schedule got so crazy over here? I feel like WoW's whole thing is to have one international season running at any given time.
Well, again, part of it is absolutely the fact that last year, we had UK versus the World 2 running, and we had Drag Race Belgique running. Nobody knows if there's a third season of Drag Race Belgique, but they have not shot it yet. In theory, there's also going to be there's rumors of a Drag Race Sweden season 2 happening, but it might not shoot to the fall. There's all sorts of crazy rumors about all this.
And Drag Race Germany was just kind of.
Well, I don't, listen, it's never canceled. I think they're looking for a new home. But there are rumors. Listen, if people are like, wait, what's going on? Listen, Drag Race Mexico, Drag Race Brazil, Drag Race Philippines All-Stars, Drag Race France All-Stars are all going to be shooting within the first quarter of 2024. So as Evan and I were talking, there will probably be a moment in August or September, we are talking about 5 or 6 franchises at one time. Hopefully not, but it's possible because just for our own sanity. But there is Drag Race coming. This is sort of a little rare lull. Like,
Yeah.
so, listen, even if you love sports, there's a moment in the NBA season where everything sort of goes quiet, and in the NFL season and the Major League Baseball, it all happens. And we're sort of entering that, but we have a lot of ideas of things to keep you entertained. And one franchise might come back, but we're going to keep it a little secret way earlier than you would ever imagine. But we'll keep that a little bit of a secret for now.
Yeah, it's very exciting times if it is in fact true. But we still have 4 seasons going on right now. Let's not forget that our wonderful ESPANYA took off last week while they filmed their live grand finale. And in case you want a quick spoiler about it, make sure you give some applause to yourself because you're going to hear that a lot over the course of that episode. But listen, we're getting down to the finish line. Greg has set a timer so that we don't spend too much time talking about everybody's favorite franchise, Drag Race Thailand, Season 3, Episode 9. This is the fewest amount of notes that I have out of anything going on right here. Yeah, we're getting down to effectively, it is the top 4 now. It's in theory going to get down to a top 3. We come in, there's quite the mourning over Nane Safira having left the competition here. Meanwhile, Sweet Sweet Godlin says that, quote, I am the front runner. And that's a very wonderful thing that she thinks. That's all I can say. Pan comes into the workroom. She's wearing this incredible cloud look. Again, as we've noted many times before. She's had a couple like okay workroom looks, but for the most part, Pangina has, especially on the runway, been absolutely incredible. That tradition very much holds true here. They have a mini challenge of the Power Butt Girls, where they have to twerk on a lemon. I invite you to show this clip to a straight person and then try and have them assume what the purpose of this program is. Uh,
You know what my reaction to this was? My reaction to this was like, wait, what are we gonna do for episode? Wait, is this eight? Episode eight?
This is episode 9.
Episode, oh, to heavens. We've had 9 episodes of Drag Race.
Since we
So,
started Worldwide Tea, baby.
yeah, that's right. That someone said, what should we do today? Oh, why don't we just do this weird power thing with butts and well, yeah. I was like, throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. That's what this was.
We got some good footage of people bucking on the floor, sweet honey bucking. And guess what? Our mini challenge winner is Frankie Wonga. But then the challenge, I'll be honest, it was explained to me, and then it kind of happened. It was so. Go ahead.
No, so what I was going to say is you were right. So I'm listening to Pangina explain it and talk to them about it in the workroom, and I'm like, wait, what is this? Are they the talk show? Are they the guest? Like, and then when they arrived to actually do the challenge, I was like, oh, it's the traditional talk show host challenge,
Yeah.
but each of them has been given a theme of a different type of show, and that's actually an interesting idea. And um uh uh oh my gosh, Frankie decides who's going to get each one. And I didn't think, by the way, they were all easy and they were all sort
Yeah.
of the same riff. Like I didn't
Like
think
they all have to do a concept, but then they have to do their own concept on top of the
yes.
thematic conversation concept. It's your childhood, your present, your future, your idol. But then some of them are like, this is like I'm a child too, or I this is a horror sexy one, or like whatever the vibe is on here. So it's interesting to say. In fact, let's just fucking dive into it because I'll go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to. I was just gonna say it was. I actually thought in concept, this was one of the more interesting things they did
Hmm.
because it. The only problem with it is they gave. If it had been the U.S., they would have only. It would have been 3 minutes. Like it would have
Hmm.
been shorter. And here, each segment was 5 minutes each because they're trying to fill. And also, this was an extra long episode. It was like an hour and 10, 15 minutes, and they
Yeah.
didn't need it. But for the talks, and by the way, as someone who does interviews for a living, like I get it. You want to be able to see how, to be honest, they were being very fair by giving them so much time to actually show whether they could do what they were doing. And if they
Hold the
stumbled, maybe they
conversation.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, if they stumbled somewhere, maybe they would like make up for it down the road. And I thought that it was interest. I thought it was super interesting. And I won't spoil it, but if you're going to go through and explain what happened to two of the talk show hosts, which made a massive cardinal error that I love they included. But I also thought it clearly showed, oh, this is your winner. This is the winner right here. Like we can just go home now. Like
Right.
it's that
I
easy.
mean, to be fair, we called Frankie Wonga winning this
Yes.
motherfucker since the very first episode because there was clearly and I'd say that per the narrative and per production, they have put a couple other things out there. Like
Yep.
ZP has clearly done well in the show. But the thing is that it's a talk show, and much like in the US challenges, they are all given the same guest, Pak Tue, who was imitated by Godland in Snatch Game. Oh no, it's Spicy Sunshine in Snatch
That's
Game,
good. Yeah.
and won in Snatch Game playing him. And now he's here to be interviewed for all these different formats. So let's dive into it. We start off with I don't remember the goddamn names of these shows, so we're not going to dive into it. But essentially, Godlin was like your childhood with little baby Godlin, and then dresses like a full blown aristocrat, like getting ready for a function kind of thing. Godlin does a perfectly acceptable job with an interview.
She did. She was the only one who made a mistake in that she looked at her cards too much.
Yeah.
I get it. She was nervous. She didn't project nervousness, but inside she was nervous and she was making sure that she stuck to the question she had. She did a good job of making it seem like it was off the cuff, but many of her responses you could tell she had written down herself.
Hmm.
And what I found very interesting about this challenge is that they did not give them a teleprompter
Nope.
to write their stuff. And this is hard. Most talk shows don't have this. There is always a teleprompter of some kind. And the only signal it appeared as though they got during the entire show was camera. And then they must have had a warning like, okay, like 2 minutes or a minute to like wrap up. And there may have been a timer that said, this is how much time you have left. So I thought she did fine. I did
Mhm.
remember my first thought was though, girl, stop looking at the cards. You're on television. You're not doing a radio or a podcast.
Yeah, it's interesting because Godlin has definitely, I think, in the back half of the season had a lot more confidence to her as well, and I think you see that especially on the runways there. But she's still a goddamn kid,
Yeah.
like she's still, kind of figuring out a lot of these things for the first time. So, unlike someone else's comment on another season where it's like you don't come here to learn. Sorry, Xana from Canada, but like this is it was still helpful and it's good to see their process. And I just briefly want to say before we get to Frankie Wonga, in this house of beloved, as we say in every
Oh
episode,
yes.
all drag is valid, and no queen ever deserves online hate. And as American entertainment journalists, we may or may not get every cultural reference and appreciate corrections. And there are some truly great queens who aren't great at drag race, and we celebrate them all the same. And the American entertainment journalists that don't get every cultural reference thing especially comes into play with Frankie
Yes.
Wonga's, because she is playing for hers, where she's talking about the present,
Yeah.
is talking as she's a nosy neighbor is the character that she plays. And it's interesting because in some of the reaction shots, like she's asking some questions, they don't feel especially invasive over there. She seems to be very conversational with Patu. They're talking about this is a gay influencer and a YouTube idol and someone who is unapologetically gay and out. Like you see reaction shots, see people like, "Oh, you're so nosy," and it's like they're kind of standard questions to me, but that was just kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I thought she was sort of doing a little Wendy Williams, like just a
Yeah.
tiny bit, and I was like, oh, I see where you're going with this. But she could have actually pushed it even further and been
Mhm.
more. But the whole idea is she had 5 minutes with this guest, and you don't want to get them so upset that they want to walk off the couch, like or leave the
Yeah.
stage. Like it didn't. I thought she did a good job. I thought it was
Yeah.
solid and straight through, and compared to all
And
the
you could
ones, easily.
tell Patua was enjoying himself there more than
Yes,
anything else, which is
100%.
if the guest feels comfortable, that's really all you need.
Also, I
Um,
just want to make a point about how young and immature Gottland is as a person. She thinks Frankie's old.
yeah.
I think Frankie just turned 30.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You're 22. You think 30 is old and death and all that. By the way, listeners, it is not. Trust
Mhm.
me. Now, 33, then it's over. Like, then
Oh
you
yeah.
just give up on everything. But
You
at
want to
30,
be in movies? Come on, let's get out of here.
yeah. Anyway,
Over, done with. What are you going to be in the Craven movie? Come on. Anyways, so next we have ZP. They are doing Your Future and trying to do like kind of a horror sexy concept over
Mhm.
there. It is a little awkward, as ZP notes. They all have games at the end of like, "Hey, Patua, are you this thing or this thing?" Like kind of like this A/B thing. And she said that wasn't part of the prompt. It's just crazy that three of us came up with it. And they also have to do a little makeup, advertisement for Anastasia Beverly Hills at the start of it, whatever. Uh, ZP definitely is nervous, and she admits that she's nervous, but then does the cardinal sin of any interview. When you are given time with a guest, you use that time. As you saw with our Kyron Thrax interview that we had last week, we were
Yeah,
given 10 minutes. Kyron was having a good time. It went to 16, and for good reason.
yeah.
And that's the kind of thing you like. The thing you don't want to do is be like, bye. And that is exactly what happened with ZP, where she ended early, and then the producers had to be like, "You have more time."
I actually thought that was one of the most fair inclusions of giving the judges, this is how you need to judge this episode by doing that. Great. Also, the queens were in the other room, in the workroom, watching it, so they were reacting to it. So you almost had to. I don't know how they would have cut it out, because you could have also just cut it and been like, "Oh, she didn't have a good interview and you weren't good." But no, they were like, this is why you screwed up." And I wish, especially the US show, was more honest about these sort of things.
100%. I even I think it was in Philippine season 2, there was one of the challenges where they had like green screen time with some of the actors. They had to do like an advertisement for something. And that's when Miss Jade So, who did extremely well, was disqualified from a win because she legit went over time. And like they held her to that standard. And that didn't seem shady. It seemed fair, at least with the way the edit was going here. So I thought that was well done here. And then Spicy Sunshine, who was advised in the workroom, maybe it'd be fun if you played Pot 2 again in front of Pot 2, because then there'd be like this weird fucking dynamic you could do with it. But no, Spicy Sunshine goes straight up with the Your Idol thing. I don't even remember really the concept of the thing. What I do remember though
Oh,
is, oh,
wasn't she the one where it was like about business? Or was that
yeah,
it was about like how did you do, or was that ZP?
that
One
was
of them was about like one was like,
ZP's was the horror adult 18 plus one. Uh, Gollum was the nosy neighbor, and no, Gollum was the childhood. Frankie was the nosy neighbor. So I think Spicy, yeah, was trying to do some business.
Spicy was trying to do how did you do your business?
Yeah,
And I thought that even though was his name Patu?
Patu.
Patu, he knew what each thing was supposed to be. They clearly
Yeah.
told him. That was the one he was probably the least comfortable talking about.
Hmm.
And
He rambled.
he also kept repeating the same mantra, like, I just wanted to like become an influencer and restart my life. I think he said that like twice in her interview, maybe three times. And I thought that that was also where Spicy Sunshine lost, because she kept letting him go back to the same talking point he had. Then
Hmm.
also because he kept doing that, she also ran out of questions.
Yes.
And then also ran out of like kept had more time that was on the clock and
My
let
My two favorite things of this episode was number one, the cut to the girls in the workroom watching her. They were like all on the couch, like bent over, pillows
uh,
in their faces, because yet here's a second queen who already went over time. And then two, spicy covering, being like, wow, this Anastasia Beverly Hills makeup sure is great, isn't it? Oh, it's fantastic. I'm Spicy Sunshine. And it's just like, it was like this next level. It was kind of endearing, I'm not gonna lie, but it was also kind of like, oh, it was just, I didn't need every segment to be 5 minutes. Again, like when you have extended run times, I got bored. We saw what we need to saw. It could have been much tighter.
Evan, do you know how we know no one is watching Drag Race Thailand besides people on Drag Race Thailand and you and I who like to just like make our lives hell? Is there is a moment in the workroom where Godland, at that moment where Spicy has gone over time or has not used her time, she kicks her legs up in the air, has and like screams like she's getting railed on the couch, and it's this hilarious image, and it's nowhere
Yeah.
in the there. No one has done a meme about it. No one has put it on social. And I'm like, okay, like,
Who's
we got to have
what
a
are we doing
conversation.
here?
DragCon. We got to fix this before you
Yeah.
shoot the next one.
It's and we'll talk about it. We'll have a debrief, by the way, of like all
Yes.
everything that we watched this year. But it's a hard season. It's a hard watch. We're not gonna lie. But hey, we need to get through it. We timed ourselves. We were going to we get into the category. The category is actually kind of a fun category on the runway. It's called Har. And also, by the way, welcome back, Art Araya. Good to see you
Yeah.
again. Finally, giving good
All
critiques
right.
with their little
Playing
flower
with
titties.
your little flower titties. Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. So, har, basically, are you a demon made of hair? I think is effectively the concept. So, Spicy Sunshine. She is, she's in fishnets, certainly, and she has wings made of hair. In my notes, I have written the words, "Oh, girl." In your notes,
I wrote choices. I just was like, this is not. You know what I actually thought about this runway when it was over? I was like, oh, they saved this to the end because everybody else who got eliminated was worse. Like that they saved this so long to the end because they looked at all the because most queens on all the seasons they have to send photos of what they have, what they're bringing, so the production can decide, okay, we want to show this runway earlier, sooner, or later, or
Mhm.
whatever. And this was definitely pushed to the end because I don't think the other queens had anything better than this. And also her and even the guest judge commented on it. Her bald cap was so bad, it was rippling in the back. The seal was coming up. I was like, oh, just put her in the bottom now. Like
Yeah.
she also probably knew she was in the bottom anyway, so she probably was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna like kill myself and make this the best it could be. But she tried to sell it.
Yeah, shall give her credit for that. ZP genuinely had one of the more, I wouldn't even call it like great, but I think had one of the more interesting looks over there. Basically came out as Aubrey from Little Shop of Horrors, but the headpiece, which was the actual like munchy mouth of the plant, was made of hair. And it
Yeah.
was actually really cool. I think maybe it got a little bit loose because she also had like little munchy hands, and like there's a lot to look at there, but like the main focal point, the headpiece, I thought was well done.
But it is hair demon. So in
Right.
theory, that is like like a the little shop where like a demon.
Yeah.
So I thought it was smart and worked. I also assumed it was a costume she had for something else that she made the hair work on. Which, by the way, there's a continuing theme of that outside of every franchise this week, except for Espana. Um, but I thought she would. I thought it was. I thought the headpiece was utterly incredible, and I was like, this is one. This is embarrassing to say. This is one of the top five looks of the season, like maybe 10 looks of the season.
Yeah. Fantastic. And then we get into not one, but two hair zombies
Yeah.
that we've had over here. First off, we have Godlin, who has kind of a hair skirt, which is like almost every part of it, like the panties, the hip pads, everything else is made out of hair. We've seen this on Drag Race many times
So
before.
many times. The
It's a
Boulay
per
brothers would rip this to shreds. They would
yeah,
be so mad. Yeah.
yeah.
But it
It's
worked here. It was fine.
Yeah, it was absolutely fine. That's exactly how I describe it. And then we get to Frankie's. And Frankie is more of a bloody hair zombie.
Mm.
Like there's blood in the mouth. It's a little bit more deliberately messy. There's wrapping around one leg. She has the whited out eye contacts there. It's kind of cool. And then it is actually Pangina who clocks her for having a fairly regular heel wearing
Which
it.
I missed. I mean, I was so distracted by her outfit. I totally missed that. And
Yeah.
also, I will say this, I need to know that headpiece looked like a full what's it called? Copy of her face. Like it was like the
Yeah. Because
headpiece.
she was holding the actual her like a head of herself, and it
Yeah,
looked
it was a very accurate cast. Like if
yeah.
I'm wondering if she casted her face for this or she had done it for something else and they just used it, but I was super impressed with that. Also, she did what like if you watch Drag, like this is what the Boulets like. You make a show out of it. Like
Mhm.
she had the whole thing that was gross with the needle going through the mouth or the cheek with the string coming out and the judges were freaking out. Like that's what you're supposed to do. That's how you
Yeah.
sell it. And I thought, oh, she's won.
Yeah.
It's
And
easy.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. They said that they would prefer if she came out in barefoot, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know if I would agree with that. I do think like there's kind of funny that she has this monster and then this like black fashion heel. Like I thought there was kind of a funny contrast there. There could have been a different shoe choice that may have been more in line with it, but I don't know. I thought it wasn't as distracting. I feel like they had to ding her for something, so that's what they pulled out.
She is Pangina's drag daughter. Pangina has to do everything she can to make it seem that she is not pushing her to the wind, which, to be honest, she is not. And
Yes.
she's doing it all on her own.
But also, what other options do we have? Like, honestly, at this
There,
point.
I am telling you, there are people online who think ZP should win. They think that she is the winner and that Frankie's only okay. I can't even with these people. Like these are
Okay.
the people who wanted Angel win on Philippines. Like no.
No, no, stop that. But either way, our tops are Frankie and kinda Godland. Our bottoms are ZP and Spicy, for obvious reasons. Shockingly, the winner is Frankie Wonga, I think earning their third badge heading into the finale. So they are definitely the front runner. The lip sync is ZP versus Spicy to What Ate by Jean Casariet. It is much more of a ballady type song on here, which isn't necessarily Spicy's strong suit, but when it came to giving face, I was like, it's one of those things where like I'm always questioning, and especially happened in Canada this episode. I'm like, I think the answer is pretty obvious, but I also feel like narratively, I'm not sure if the judges would actually go a certain direction on here. And I'm very impressed this week. They went with, I think, what was the accurate choice.
Yeah.
In this case, I did genuinely think Spicy Sunshine outperformed ZP because Spicy Sunshine genuinely had more inflection in her face, more actual emotion on there, while ZP was very open and presentational. So would you agree?
I think they should have kept Nani another week, and we could have had more drama and more fun this week. They, I mean, we won't spoil it. So, Spicy wins the lip sync, and she is saved. And then, not to just walk on your coattails, but then, um, ZP gives a emotional speech, and it's production is no doubt cheering in the control room because this is sort of what they want. The judges are in tears because they love her so much. And we don't know why, but they love her. But maybe they've just been rooting for her all these weeks. And Pangina decides, no, I want you to stay too, because we have another hour worth of content we need to do. And I'm not ready to have just three queens for an hour. So all four of them get to stay. She falls to her knees. The girls go crazy. They come out on stage. We've actually seen this happen on a number of franchises before, but
Mhm.
this all felt a little produced. Like,
Yeah. The only thing I will say is that in the judging panel, Shaw Diary of Tootsies has been pretty much a lifeless brick on there. But when this thing was announced, my God, Shaw was like, ah! Can you believe it? This is television. Like they were this is the most animated I've ever seen them in my entire life. They were losing their mind over this. So at least we got something for Shaw. Shaw Diary of Tootsies was excited about it. And hey, we continue on. One of the harder to watch franchises is careening towards a hopefully chaotic end. I don't know. Apparently there are people who aren't Team Frankie Wonga out there, but that is certainly not me. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, we are the one last thing I wanted to say that I noticed in this episode is they are so on fumes to the finish line that in the confessionals, the queens literally are run out of things to say. Like every time they cut to them, they're like, wait, we need to have them say something here. Is that really what they said? Did they have that weird pause while they were thinking of something to say and it wasn't meant as a comedic beat? Yeah, they are like it is just fumes, fumes. I hope there's some energy and some chaos at the end. Can we bring Nikki back? Can Nikki Doll come back for finale?
Maybe more. You know what really spices up a finale? Having Alyssa Edwards there to give out some platitudes. I think that tends to
Right.
really make
Not
things.
that not Alyssa giving out the same platitude she could have given for any of like the queen she's talking about. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. We move on. Hopefully, I think we went over 13 minutes, unfortunately, but
It's all
I
right.
think
We're on good time. We're
we're on good
done.
time. All right, we're gonna power through. We're gonna get down to Down Under, I believe we said was next. Yes. All right.
Drag
So
Race Down Under.
great Down Under. All right. So we are
By the
down
way,
to
I don't like to. I apologize. I don't need to call out other fucking podcasts, but Mom presents Mom Moguls of Media
yes.
and Willem and Alaska's podcast. Please, someone make this viral. You guys only cover the US seasons, and then sometimes you do UK. You do not do Global All Stars, which has a queen that you were on a season with, both of you. Or no, no, Alaska was on
Yeah.
twice, and you decide in the off season to do Down Under. Like that's the one. Like because you just want to rip on Rue not being there the whole time. Like I'm blown away. Like also, I know they're going on a tour in January. That's probably why they did it. It's Detox and Willem and Alaska. It was supposed to be Roxy, and Roxy can't for some reason, which I don't know what happened with that. It was supposed to be the Relaxca Talks reunion, and now it's not. But anyway, girls, come on. Like, this is not what people pay their $5.99 on Patreon, which is not me, to like listen to.
Right.
Anyway, end of rant.
It's okay. And hey, as we all know, Bob the drag queen once posted that a thing of, that Simpsons, I'm so hungry I could eat an Arby's thing, but saying that I'm so bored I could watch Drag Race Down Under. And then all the Down Under queens had to get together like, Bob, we banded together and we will pay the $5.99 if a month thing in order for you to watch our season. Like they had some good things about it, which it does make me think that they actually had a good time filming it too, which does show up a little bit, especially in this episode,
Yeah.
which is the roast. So we are down under season 4, episode 7. We come in, all the queens talking about how they all want Lazy Susan to lip sync because she's such a dominant force so far in this competition. And it's like, what was it, ASL or always syncing Lazy. They have some sort of
Oh, they had
phrase.
some weird, yeah, acronym for her. Yeah.
Yeah. But they say that, and then before long, I also just want to briefly talk about this is a season where we have both Ketamine and then Anita Wiglet up on the panel
Yeah.
there, and I wasn't sure about it at first. It seemed like kind of a cheap move, but I do think having queens on the panel has overall been a successful move for the
Oh
show.
yeah, I think for this one, I mean, every single week it totally works. I think sometimes when it's their guest judges, like on Canada, it's been a bit hit or miss. I think when queens show up just in the boy self on the panel, I don't always love it. Like
Mhm.
Shay showing up, like I didn't think she brought anything on that Canada episode last week, but this I thought worked. And also Anita was actually quite better than Kita to me, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But she's great.
I actually like Kita. I like Kita more than Isis Avis Loren because I can't remember anything that Isis
But
has
that's
said.
Isis's pride. Like she doesn't get a WoW Presents original. She doesn't get flown everywhere. She gets to be the judge for one season. So Lazy Susan or Vibe, if you win, this is you next year.
Or vibe? What's this or vibe crap?
We'll get there. We'll get
Anyways, they have to do a roast of Reese Nichols. Is the whole idea over there? They get a surprise visit by Maxie Shield for some reason.
there. Maxie, first of all, I'm a little worried about Maxie's health. Maxie doesn't look great. Not just about her losing her voice because they shot this during Mardi Gras last March, uh, but also she doesn't look good. I'm a little worried about her. But she comes in, they did not even tell her what the challenge was. Oh, I'm like, did she
Was she
get off
just
the plane?
around? Yeah.
Did she get off the plane, put on her dress and makeup, and just run into the work? Like, what? But I hope she got 500 Australian dollars for showing up and getting some miles and getting to go to New Zealand.
I hope so too. But it's the standard things. They have some roast jokes. Some of them have to pivot their routine. They We could talk about the details of
Yeah,
it. I don't think any of it was particularly
really good.
interesting, quite frankly. But then we get over to effectively the set for the roast of Reese Nicholson. It's a dry set. Their queens are just up there on stage. There's no other audience members. It's just a very in-house kind of thing.
They did not
And
bring back the eliminated queens who were being hanging out in their hotel rooms, which they could have, but that
Mhm.
also probably meant they would have had to pay them, and maybe they didn't want to do that.
Stan original.
Yeah.
And then let's also and but also the kind of the exact opposite of what the editing that we saw in Thailand, because these roasts were, I think, less than 60 seconds tops. They flew through those things so
Yeah.
quick in the edit.
Too
But
much,
that
actually. I thought there was no way they were only on stage for that long.
Not at all. Not fucking at all. They could have had 5 minutes, or they could have been speaking to Pa Tua. Who knew? Either ways, we get into it. There are a couple jokes that go over there. It's Lazy Nikita, Freya, Mandy Vibe. It's in unsurprisingly, Lazy and Vibe do pretty good. Freya does, I think, better than people expect her to do. Mandy is okay. Nikita tries doing a basically a ballroom iteration of reads. They don't. Yeah.
I will say Nikia's attempt, while attempting to be creative, was one of the worst. It wasn't painful to watch, but it was
No, it
one
was
of
not.
the worst I've seen in a long time. Like it
Yeah.
was bad.
Yeah.
But the
What?
problem is that I did not think that I thought Vibe and Lazy were fine.
Mhm.
I think Vibe had one joke that I chuckled at, and then Lazy did too, but I didn't think that they were like stellar.
Mhm.
Maybe, but we'll get to that in a second. But I did think that it went way too fast, way too
Yes.
fast.
Absolutely. I did write down two jokes I thought were particularly good. One, which was Lacey said, "Reese, tonight you'll be read more times than your book," which I thought was good. And then Freya ending her set saying, "What doesn't kill you disappoints me." And I'm like, I'll give credit to where credit is. Freya, who I thought was just like a queen that was there, she's really, especially in the last couple of weeks, she found something. She found some sort of essence in her, which actually made her a little bit more of a competitor. And I was like, I liked it. It's some she's has got some good energy going on her booty right now.
I mean, no one told her that Hollywood Jade like didn't win, or no, not Hollywood Jade. That's Hollywood Jade is from Canada. Hollywood. Who's the Hollywood queen
I
last
know
year?
exactly who you're talking about. Listen, at Worldwide T, we will do this incredible thing called
Oh, the
looking it up.
internet. It's Hollywood, Would. I just remember how it's Hollywood, like she would do something. And what's her last name? Hollywood Star.
Hollywood Star,
Hollywood
yes.
Star. Hollywood Star also like made it close to the end and thought she could win, but they are not crowning an American. Like I
Yeah.
just don't know what to tell you. So
She,
anyway,
she also beat out, let's not forget our other favorites, Bump of Love, Rita Menu, and Ivana Drink.
yeah,
Uh and
Rita
let's
Menu's a good name. I like
yeah,
this.
Rita Menu is pretty good, but then also that was one of the things that I thought was pretty surprising was when they mentioned that one of them, I think it was Ivana Drink, who was the partner of Anita Wiglet,
Yeah.
they broke up. I didn't realize that. That was something that only
Oh,
came up in the read.
I think it happened right after she came back from Canada versus the World season one.
Yeah.
It was an unfortunate discovery. That's the rumors. Yeah. Um, Everyone took her side supposedly. That's just I don't know. That's what the T says online. Uh,
Okay.
from
Well,
those
that
20 queens who in the New Zealand
drag community.
surroundings.
Yeah. Well, hey, we get over to the runway, and the category is Cape Fear. It is a cape-based runway. So go ahead.
I'm just gonna say this. This runway was bad. Like this runway
Across
was
the board.
after like giving the show some props for like some other runways, almost like in other episodes. This was another example of like when we come back and I'm saying, no, like this is not good. Even Lazy comes out in that she had to explain it. Do you please
Yes.
let you explain it? Like it,
She came out basically trying to be a sofa. She was like wearing a sofa corset, and then had her cape was the carpet or the rug that was supposed to be
yeah.
on there, and looked kind of regally. And then when she turned around, you saw there's a bunch of like pizza and dogs and stuff attached to the cape, the carpet, as it were. It was fine. It was not her usual standard of true drag innovation. And I think that is, unfortunately, when you keep excelling and having viral moments because of your goddamn incredible runways, that does kind of suck. So
Then I don't think she said it in the audio. Maybe we'd have to go back and listen, which dear God, I am not doing. But on her Insta, she made it sound like she was a Lazy Susan the superhero. Like, so it's supposed to be a superhero costume, and that's why she has the cape, but she's a Lazy Susan because that's her drag name. So she's doing the superhero version of Lazy Susan. The problem is when she turned the corner, it doesn't look like a couch. It just looks like a nice designed
Mhm.
corset that is fabricy, that like is plushy, but you don't get couch, even though her name is Lisa.
Saram Pushy.
I know it's the wrong plushy. But yeah, for her it was just super disappointing.
Yeah. Not their best, but hey, she has competition. Nikita comes over here in basically kind of this white pearl top with kind of this square shoulder aspect to it. It's fine. The shoulder thing is kind of like a flappy almost. It's fine. I'm not going to remember this in a week's time, personally.
I I forgot it until you mentioned it, but I did remember thinking at the time, oh, it just needs a little more glam. Like
Yes.
it feels not unfinished is the wrong word. It could have just been glowed up just a tiny bit with maybe more rhinestones, or maybe I remember thinking like that the cape needed a lot like that silver that was with the stones like
Mhm.
aligning, like to give it more shape and form, and it because then it would have contrasted more with the address. And I don't think she or her designer got that while they were making it. I think they thought they were being avant-garde, but it's hard to be avant-garde when your runway is that. Like
Yeah.
it's so loud and it's hard to be simple and look good. Very few queens can do it. And if you do it, you have to do it so specifically well. That's why, queens like Sasha Velour are incredible, or her designers are, because they know how to make simple look exquisite.
Or if I'm being honest, Marmalade, who every once in a while was able to turn like, the record player concept into it's fashion, but it is accessible, but it is out there at the same time.
Right.
Like it's a very difficult balance you have to achieve and requires a certain taste level. To that end, too, Freya, she came out and effectively, it was kind of this Dune style cloak thing. She did say it was a little bit tied into her Lebanese Middle Eastern heritage too. But it was also more of a cloak. I didn't necessarily get cape from it. It was yeah. Well, how would you define it?
I remember thinking I can see the bodysuit underneath it, and I remember thinking I liked the idea. When she shot this, I think Dune Part 2 had just come out.
Mm,
So, because I think they shot this in March, that would have been February. So she probably was like, "Oh, this will air in a couple months, ha ha ha," and it will make more relevance. But it worked. I thought it was fine. I didn't
yeah,
think it was bad.
yeah, I would
Again,
agree.
not memorable, not memorable.
Yeah. And that's the exact opposite of what I'd say about Mandy Moobs. And the thing is that Mandy Moob's devil horn look, we've seen iterations of this in various times before. I don't know. I had a great time with it. She had overly large devil horns on her head. She had overly large devil horns protruding out of her shoulders and a bunch of draped ruby style sequins. We've seen it before. We've seen various iterations of it. It was, I don't know. It kind of stood out in a way that some of the other ones of this not good runway did not.
Well, I think it stood out because she didn't design it for this runway. It was our favorite two words, drag closet. And that's okay. By the way, that
Yeah.
is a-okay. It is fine. These are not rich girls. They are pulling what they have to. They're doing a Kennedy Davenport. They're doing an Alexis Mateo and pulling what they've got. And it works for the prompt. And also, you recognize it because it was probably for Halloween. And
Uh-huh.
that's great. But that's totally good. I'm all for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last we have Spanky Jackson coming out on the runway. No, wait, I'm getting that wrong. Sources are telling me that's actually Vibe in this. gradient outfits.
It
Uh,
scared me
uh,
so much. I was like, wait, did she come out? And I like mentally blocked it so that I did not remember that she was there.
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. That was spanky coated, that silver tint outfit to a nth degree. And
It
Michelle
was
loved it for whatever goddamn reason.
it gave season 3 Drag Race Delta work. It gave Spanky Jackson. It was that. It was that
Delta
is
work finale outfit. Yeah.
yes.
It was certainly there. I'll say
So
that much.
anyway, we had a runway. And
Hmm.
then, which I would like to talk about because I was like, all right, girl, did the producers put you up to this? Earlier in the season, these queens treated Nikita like shit.
Hmm.
And they didn't believe in her, but it was really just mostly Vibe who was giving her a problem.
Yes.
And now they are on the runway, and Michelle gives the dreaded, "Who do you think should go home and why?" And to be honest, I wish they had done this an episode earlier, or maybe 2 episodes earlier, because we're almost at the end. And I felt like it was a little bullshit.
Hmm.
It was clear that the other queens had decided we don't want Nikita in the finale, even though she has a win. Freya
Hmm.
does not have a win.
Hmm.
If Freya is in the confessionals, this is the only thing I remember about this episode because I was so
Right.
annoyed. Freya's like, what, she doesn't deserve to be here. Like she essentially says that, I think. Like maybe that's the wrong quote. And I'm just like, girl, she won a challenge. You haven't won anything. What is going on? What did you
Yeah.
think?
It's the thing where first off, let's not forget that Lazy Susan gave a joke answer, like I want Vibe to go home, which I think is kind of her right to do so. But then Nikita also said, well, then I want Lazy to go home, and then everyone else is like, oh, let me give a real answer. Let's talk about Nikita. And then Freya's in the fucking confessionals being like, yo, Michelle's asking you a question. It's your job to answer it honestly. Like she's kind of the godland of the season at this point, where it's like I don't know what kind of thing bit her ass, where she suddenly has to be the arbiter of everything related to how drag race should function. Like they wanted to do it, and listen, Lacey's playing her cards by not throwing anyone under the bus. You might see her weak as that. That's her prerogative. But like the fact, this is one of those like bullshit kind of drama things that just like what are we doing here?
But
Truly.
I was also like, God, Freya, I liked you when you were more quiet.
Mhm.
Because how many US winners, when they've been in that situation, because we're about to hit season 17, have either made a joke or said, I would eliminate myself,
Mhm.
or, I don't think anyone that there it has happened a number of times. And would you go up to any of them and tell them that, Rue asked you a question? It's not fucking Rue, it's Michelle. Let her answer the way she wants to. It
Yeah.
just got me
And
so it really flipped me on Freya, who I had like sort of enjoyed up until this point. I was like, I know the producers are asking you to create drama, but come on.
yeah, it was silly to a degree, and is the kind of thing where it's also like you're just throwing stones at someone. I mean, because you're so far behind, there's no way
Yeah.
you're going to win, and this is like whatever lashing out backed into a corner thing. This is
Mhm.
whatever. But either way, we end up with Lazy Freya Vibe in the top, Nikita and Mandy obviously in the bottom. The winner is Vibe. I thought it should have been fourth one for Sweet Sweet and Lazy Susan, but I thought she had a tighter set, but whatever. They wanted to make it a little bit more competitive, so that's what we got.
I I it is what it is. Like I was sort of like, okay.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think Lazy got robbed. I thought either of them could have won. It was a flip 'em to me.
Yeah. And it's still the best season of Down Under we've ever had. And hey, they get over there, Nikita versus Freya. They do the song "Searchin" by Young Divas. And it's the kind of thing where it is an energetic song. And ultimately, I just got more vibe out of Freya on this one here. I'm sorry, vibe of Freya. I'm sorry, Mandy. Because Mandy actually gave a little bit more presentation. She had an outfit that I think absolutely worked for it. She got to show off the moves themselves. And it was, I think, a better performance overall than what Nikita could give. Nikita, it's not her first time in the bottom. And I think it kind of showed.
I watched it twice because I wanted to make sure I hadn't missed something. Because the first time I watched it, I was like, all right, like either of them, I guess, could have won. And then I
Hmm.
saw the second time, I was like, oh no, Mandy sort of did more. And she had that moment where she walked down the runway and pulled off, her titties. So there was like tassels underneath or whatever was covering. And I thought that was at least a something, that was a narrative that she added to the lip sync. And I also just thought Nikita was screwed by her dress. Like
Hmm.
very Relisa, like this season on UK, where like Relisa kept being in these dresses that like would not allow her to lip sync. You know that Nikita is a great lip syncer and she probably could have done splits and Vogued and whatever, but not in that dress. Not, and it was an energetic song. Like they didn't set her up, I don't think, but it is what it was.
Right.
Did I just
And
say it is what it was? What does
it
that
is
even
it
mean?
is what it was, certainly. By the way, we're gonna open up the merch store. That's gonna be one of the first things that we put on there
It
as a
is
bumper
what it
sticker.
was.
It is what it was. No one can argue that fact. Uh, our sweet dear Nikita goes home. She actually had a good run. I actually changed my mind about her over the course of her run, especially during the fashion challenge. Where it's like, oh, you got legit skills. The thing that where she said that she's from ballroom, is it's kind of like Gigi Ferocious, where like I see it, but then you kind of don't do anything that really shows the ferocity and intensity that it is. And maybe that's someone being from ballroom being shoved into a drag race peg, and you aren't able to do the stuff that we know. But then again, I also think about Kiana from Drag Race France season 2, who was able to do that, and was able to show that she's ballroom and a drag queen and all these other things at once. But I don't know.
Now, my take was if this was a 12 episode season, she would have been able to show more.
Mhm.
She had a little bit more money. The thing I like about Nikita is I think she's a real queen. I think she could have been easily in the top four. I think she proved that she deserved there. I feel like again, we've had a number of seasons this year. It's like trend alert where someone who comes in who's an outsider that the other queens don't know, they sort of gang up on her and they showed what they can do, but they still get screwed over by their fellow contestants at the end. It happened to Maggie. It happened to her. Wait, who's the other one that it? Oh, and it happened on to uh Sasha Kushi on Thailand. So I'm sort of I would love I hope that in 2 or 3 years Nikita can have a bit of a glow up and not have to borrow so much drag from her drag mother. And I would love to see her on like Canada versus the World 4 or 5 or something. Oh, we lost you. Lost you.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
I think it's fully possible, and also I will say I did briefly see a little online poll of what people were saying in terms of which hashtag team they should be on there. It's not the fact that Lazy Susan is leading that poll. It's the fact that the poll that I saw, she was destroying everyone with 88% of the vote, which is unsurprising. She's the reason to watch this season. I don't know what else to say.
And I'm just gonna say this to anyone from Stan or World of Wonder who is watching this, although I'm sure the episode is done, it's been edited, it's been decided. They are doing the crowning live. They're not there. It's not a live crowning, but they're doing the crowning reaction uh, in Sydney, not in Melbourne, where Lazy lives. So I'm assuming Lazy will go there, but it will. That's Vibe's hometown. Vibe is a very popular queen there. If they crown Vibe, they are throwing all the goodwill that they have for this season into the toilet. It is not Vibe's fault if that happens. Vibe has done a fine job, but if they do it, they are making a big, big mistake. And I would just tell them, do not screw up your chance to finally have a winner that everyone loves from Down Under. Like
Right.
that can go to a drag con in the UK or in LA and literally have people want to go see them. And that's no disrespect to the other winners. I've never seen a line for any of them. I've seen Kidamine by like hanging out with, Art Simone, just hoping people come over and say hi. And
Yeah.
that's no one wants that to happen. Don't do this to Lazy Susan. Don't do
Right.
it to your franchise.
Right. And again, when you've seen things happen online with this season, it's been because of Lazy Susan. It's been
Yep.
because of those runways. It's been the reason to tune in. And again, Vibe, she's a drag machine. She's confident. She's good at what she does. We've seen competitors like her before in the drag universe there. Again, no shade to her. You could be great at Drag Race and still maybe not be the most interesting queen in the world.
Yep.
And unfortunately, when you're up against Lazy Susan, who is actually pushing things in boundaries that extend beyond the language barrier, that extend beyond region, it's worth noting. So I think we're in agreement on there, but we'll see what happens next week. Whether it gets the official Worldwide T top or flop ranking that we have yet to determine to give out. We will see. But speaking of things that have unexpected twists and things that are not aren't ready for, Canada, season 5, episode 4. One of very interesting week. And if we're talking about, by the way, queens who have certain vibes or attitudes in confessionals and also the workroom, Canada's always got you covered there, baby. Let's start with Sanjina talking about after the elimination that she quotes saying she didn't feel appreciated for saving her team because, of course, it came down to her and only her. And also Uma then being bold and saying, "Well, I thought actually Perla won that lip sync." And Sanjina's like, "Well, all you saw was the back of my head. I back of my head won the lip sync," and it was like this really weird. Like I don't know what Uma was just saying her truth. Uma, the sweet, innocent summer child of Jesus that she is, but it got a little contentious early on.
So this is such an interesting tangent. On Thursday night, I went to a SAG nominating committee Q&A for Wicked,
Mhm.
where Cynthia Erivo did a conversation with Kristen Bell. I did this because for people click on Wicked. And I couldn't make the big one that they said Ariana was sick that night, and then she showed up the next night. I was like, all right, girl. But whatever, I don't care. I had stuff to do on Friday. So I went to this Thursday one, and I don't know how it came up, but Cynthia talked about how she had never known when she was on stage. This is such, I don't know why I'm telling this story, but it makes sense to what that argument was. That she did not know that when you were on stage, you're not supposed to not face the audience, that you're not supposed to just show your back, like that you're always supposed to in some way position yourself on the stage so that everyone can see. And she got up out of her chair during the Q&A, and I could have sent this video to Sanchina, and she turned away from the Q&A audience, faced the screen, and sort of talked while she was showing with her back what she could do to convey emotion, to convey fearness, all sorts of things. And then she sat down because that's what an actor does.
Mhm.
That is what the queens were reacting to the lip sync,
Mhm.
because they could tell from Perla's back what she was doing was different than what Sanjina was doing.
Mhm.
And Sanjina continues to prove that she is one of the more delusional queens that I have ever seen on this franchise. And this franchise has Melinda Verga. Like I find it so hard to root for Sanjina, and I want to, but she keeps saying these things that that just make it hard to root for you. And I don't think that she realized. I wonder in hindsight if she watches this or if she's in such a tunnel in her life she can't.
There are, I think, two types of queens that come into into any Drag Race workroom. Actually, I'd say there's three. One, there's the sweet summer children. This is their first time being on television, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They think there's a game to play, then they have to be television professionals. They're learning a lot of stuff on the fly. Two, there are the queens who are television professionals. I think there are the people, and maybe they don't even realize it at the time, but either they know they're good TV or they understand this is a game. They understand this is a game that's to work. Some things are predetermined, some things are out of their control, and they can still make good TV even while they're here. They can win it in the workroom, as it were. They can win it in the confessional. They know that even if I don't win the crown, I know what this is doing for my reputation or what have you, and those professionals. And then there are those, and I think Sangina is one, is a queen who thinks this is a fair competition and this is a competition in that sense. Like it is, but it's also a TV show more than it is anything else. And I think there's the people, you see it when she gets her critiques. You saw it in this episode when she got her critiques. Every critique is everything. So if they say, I liked this, the one thing I hear, oh my God, thank you so much. I didn't like this thing over here. God, I'm the worst. I can't believe I didn't let that happen. Like just overly sensitive to everything that's going
Yeah.
on in every moment of the competition. Overly sensitive to any comment from anyone else in the room over here. Some queens would let some of that shit just wash off their back. Some queens wouldn't even engage. Like, oh, you said something shady about me, whatever. Or maybe they'll be like, let's make up, let's get the cameras over here, let's have a moment. Like they will reach out to the production and like make some of those things
Yeah.
happen. But she is way overly intense, thinks that she's going to win this fucking thing from the get and everything else is in her way. And I, again, watched her on Call Me Mother. I didn't love her during her run in Call Me Mother earlier. And the fact that she's not a more polished version here is a little bit frustrating. Greg earlier in this week sent me a reaction video from Priyanka going over her lip sync, where she gave her the not complimentary word of messy to describe what she was seeing on stage to Bad Bitches Don't Cry.
But by the
But
way, Priyanka said that so quickly. She didn't. I don't think she realized that it came across negative, which you would think anyone who would use the word mess would come across negative. But she couldn't really hide what she was talking about. I 100% get what you're talking about, and I agree with you with those archetypes. I think the thing with Sangina that frustrated me, because it's over, is that her delusion isn't just what's going on in the workroom. I don't think she's delusional about what's going on in the workroom or on stage. I think she's delusional about her drag, and that she thinks it's not about taste, because you can have good taste and bad taste, but also realize, oh, maybe this doesn't look good. And I think that was more of my frustration throughout this whole season. She thought every time she did something, she was amazing. Even when anyone else in the room, and her own drag mother, Virgo, would have told her, girl, this ain't great. And that is the delusion to me.
Yeah. And it was frustrating because, like, I didn't mind her so far in the season. She actually has some interesting emotional moments. In this episode, the insufferable switch got turned on.
Right.
It was really hard to watch for a majority of it. And we'll get into it. Brad
Wait,
enters. Go ahead.
sorry. One other quick I want to add, because it comes back to that conversation with them, because I realized who Uma reminded me of. They have a different drag aesthetic, but Uma is giving Ben de la Creme Drag Race season 6, where she is on a different plane as everyone else. So she'll talk about certain things, not realizing that someone else is going to think that that sounds shady or that sounds self-absorbed.
Carrying
And
like.
and Ben did that. Remember, it was always Bianca or even Adore being like, girl. Like, but Ben at the time did not see that while she was talking. And I feel like that is exactly what Uma is going through on the season.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, like, again, having not been on Drag Race myself as of yet, we don't know when Pusibo is going to make the running.
Oh,
That or my other drag name, of course, Fibonacci sequence. But we'll get there. But the thing is, think it's interesting that I would love to have that experience of seeing what you look like on TV too, because I think you see other queens, like you see Trixie Mattel, you see a couple other people, like, man, what was I when you see the season on there? And some of it is obviously the edit on there, and obviously we talk about contestant formerly known as Fifi O'Hara having a lot of difficulty with her reputation as how the editing was presenting her on the season. But I would be curious to see what Sanjina thinks after she sees it. And also, quick shout out to a mandatory meeting for saying, can I have an edit of my lip sync without any of the fuck ass comments in between during the lip sync SmackDown episode? Because she wanted that, and it's like, yeah, you don't need plain Jane to fucking ruin your goddamn moment when you're actually having one. So I get that. Brad comes into the workroom. He's in a lime green outfit, which has one of the queens say, "quote Yas, Green Goblin," which is absolutely incredible.
Also, timestamp, you know that this was so long ago that they shot this. This is before Charlie XCX's album came out, or that she even revealed the cover of it, and they don't reference it. And if it had been 2 months later, they would have 100%,
Brad, yeah, would have
yeah.
been absolutely Brad. Oh my God, we're gonna see so many fucking Charlie lip syncs in the future.
I'm for it.
You know
I'm
what?
for it. I'm for it.
Give me fucking guests on the goddamn runway. It's gonna be great.
I don't think we've had a Billy. I don't think we've had a Billy lip sync.
I don't think we've had one, no. And well, to be fair, she doesn't have the most dancey songs. Like I could see "Bad Guy," I could see "What Was I Made For" potentially, but like, yeah, nothing coming up so far. We're doing our
All right, you
research.
continue. You keep talking about the episode. I'm gonna go and look up if there was a bad girl lip sync.
All right. So we then get over to our mini challenge. It is a sexy boudoir shoot, which has a lot of them not realizing that whipped cream in the mouth is not necessarily something that can necessarily hold shape. I think the it is very funny that Minnie Wang, she says, "I can't even spell boudoir. It's Spanish, right?" And they proceed to go through a bunch of different iterations. Uma, of course, being like, I have no idea what sex is, so I'm just going to stand here and look, and you guys are just going to make out and do whatever you do. The winner of it ultimately ends up being Sanjina. The shots that they ended up showing on screen, Sanjina had a legit good shot. So I was actually not too upset over that. It was fun, it was flirty. And then we get over to this is for Canada being the show that always has a twist or a new change on whatever the format is and what the challenges is. Has kind of it's kind of a twist, but not really. I was a little bit confused by the Maxi Challenge. It was a design challenge, but
Yeah.
effectively they are just supposed to do a fast fashion outlook. So not necessarily couture, not ball gown, but basically something that's fast, marketable, off the rack, ready to wear.
I didn't
And
think they needed the word fast. I think they could
yeah.
have just said, I don't know why they didn't call it ready to wear. I don't know
Mhm.
why maybe they wanted it to look like they were, I don't know what they were thinking. I think it was shorter, but um, they should have just called it ready to wear.
Yeah. And then halfway through, they're like, "Oh, by the way, on one of the runways that you already brought something for, you're also doing tonight. You're also going to be doing the slow motion couture runway, which kind of fell out of nowhere." And I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, at least they already brought it." And it's actually kind of a stupid concept. Like the whole idea is that like these are things that are going to be look good in slow motion, and then none of them really did, or the slow motion really wasn't cinematic enough. I don't know. I felt like when they did, I remember there was one where it's like we have a runway. I think it was Canada versus where it's like it's supposed to be fan based, or maybe it was an all star season, like blowy. We're gonna have a fan in
Right.
front of
They
you,
did it
so
on, I think they did it on Canada and on Global All Stars.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
like let's like have a fan so like it looks cool. Like that was a good idea. I thought that was well executed. Something that looks good in slow motion. It's kind of the same thing, but not I don't know. I thought it was kind of a too weird concept for a double runway design week.
I did not like that the girls continue every time there's anything that would have to do with fans or slow motion, they go the easy way out and they go with oh my God, what's the material? The
Chiffon or
chiffon. Like they go with all that like I feel like there's so many other directions you could go that would work and I don't understand. I just think I think they look at all the runways they have to do and like, oh, this is the easy one. I can take this dress and but anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
yeah.
But
But yeah, I mean that's the kind of the same thing. Michaela, when she's in the workroom, she talks about quote, "I'm not scared of being bad. I'm scared of being not good enough." And low key, that's fucking real. That's
that's
real as shit. It's not just that she comes from the House of Couture, so obviously she has that reputation. But I think that's just like a universal sentiment. That's how I feel. Like I think it was some theater director that way back in the day talked about like, do you want to be it's actually a business thing. It's like I mean, I know you're doing good, but do you want to be good enough? Do you want to compromise for good
Mhm.
enough? And no, you don't want to. Like sometimes I think on Drag Race, you only have a certain set of skills. You're not going to excel at every single challenge, but you still want to do the best you can. So sometimes good enough is tricky. But then there's also that quick moment of Sanjina to Michaela, "You have cancer?" Which was truly incredible. No, I said I am a cancer. Uh, which
Wait, is this our moment to have a conversation in the workroom?
it's really incredible. Low key, and let me just say one other thing over here. Brad doing the walkthroughs gave great fucking advice this week. This is one of the things where like I feel like the judging panel so often they're just there to give funny comments and give critiques or whatever. And every once in a while, and especially with Canada, it doesn't happen every time, but every once in a while the judges give real ass fucking advice. You saw it in season 3 of Canada's Drag Race when it was Tracy overseeing the makeup palette challenge and gave like some real ass advice to Bombay and to Fierce Delicious and like actual like constructive like here's how you need to structure things stuff. And Brad in this workroom, my God, the advice that he gave to both Minhee and then Sanjina was fantastic, especially when he talked about like when I'm helping style someone, I ask what their favorite feature is, and they build
Yes.
around that. And I'm like, fuck yeah, like that. It was like legit, like good stuff that he gave out to a lot of people. I love seeing that. Like it's the whole purpose of like why the judges are there.
Agreed. I thought
Yeah.
he was
Yeah, he's going to be a guest on soon. He's going to style us. It's going to be great. Not that we need it.
no, that's
Uh,
okay. I'd rather have Anna. Yeah, I'd rather have Anna.
yeah, and call her up on the drag phone,
Yes.
on the Nikki Doll phone that keeps ringing. So, anyways, category is fast fashion and slow motion couture. Before we dive into this, I want to know how you want to go about this, Greg. Do you want to talk about each individual category first, or do you want to talk about the queens both looks, queen by queen?
I think it makes more sense since they're going to be judged on both looks. Let's talk about each look for like each queen in each look.
Okay.
What do you
So let's start with the first one out on the stage was Minnie, and this was weird because being the first out, I always have that weird thing of like it kind of sets the expectation in a weird way. When she came out on her slow motion couture look, which was first, there was this padless flowy look that showed off her fucking abs and her fucking body, and it was weird because in the moment I was like, this is it. Like it seemed minimal, it seemed kind of striking there, but after the rest of the runways went through and after they went back to it you could see that it was a much more deliberately focused item because now I knew what the runway concept was.
Yeah.
And for her to do gender bendy, show off the pure man, six-pack abs, the slick back hair, and then kind of alter that with what she was in the female outfit, there was a lot more going on than what I had on the first pass when I saw it.
I mean, I still loved it the second I saw it. I thought it was stellar. I will say it even looks more impressive in the photo shoots that she put up online about it. And the photos, by the way, are not like airbrushed or anything. Like it's just, it looks really good. It's a great look to be photographed. And when she walked down and they did the slow motion, that's when you're like, oh, this is great. So
Hmm.
I can see someone standing there. I can see your initial thought, but I also thought the same thing. I was like, oh shit, she's showing abs right away. And then it made more sense in context.
Yes. Then for the fast fashion look, it was a reflective cat suit with kind of this like middle, like almost mohawky hairline over there. The thing is that the cat suit itself was the reflective material we've seen so many different times before, but the reflective material was stitched in between more of this kind of like almost silky chiffon black in between.
No, it was a mesh. It was like
Oh, it was a mesh, right?
it was a
Yes, yes,
mess.
yes.
Yeah, it was really hard to do what she did.
Yeah. And it's weird because, again, like, I didn't get the impact of it on here. I think because the sparkling material just by itself looks so cheap that it almost belies the fact that the construction on it and the silhouette that was achieved with a goddamn bodysuit like that is immaculate and well done. So I really had to adjust my own expectations a little bit on here because it didn't have the wow factor of like visual impact on there, but on terms of construction, it was better than anyone else did in the workroom, hands down.
I mean, my reaction was definitely well made the second I saw it because I could tell what that because the second they showed her arm, I was like, oh no, this is hard to do. And it was clean and tight.
Hmm.
And to do that fit with that mesh is just not easy. But also this is hands down one of the worst overall design. Like this is a low point in design challenges for Canada. And I want to talk about it more at the end, but they have a problem when they have to address this casting the next season.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, then we move on to Helena, who her first look for the slow motion, it's a bunch of ghostly fabric over here. When I first saw it, I thought it was a little bit unfocused, but upon further look, there is a little bit more of like explicit stitching that's going on with the breaks in the fabric across her chest that goes on there. It still didn't have my favorite overall impact, but I overall enjoyed it, I would say.
I thought it was okay. I thought the fabric angle that you're talking about on the corset didn't flatter her. And what it did is it made your eye go to her belly button. I don't think that was the intention.
Yeah.
I feel like something was missing and that she should have, I'm sure she thought it was sexy, but it made the outfit seem disjointed.
Yeah, no, I see that. To that end, too, judges were raving about it, and her actual look that she made, which was kind of like this drippy hat look, like it kind of had the classic, like, here's like a dress, and here's a hat, and then here's a little bit of like slime drip kind of going around it, but just a little bit there. It,
And on the skirt, and on the
yeah,
skirt.
on the skirt. I don't know. It felt really simple to me.
Well, let's remember she's in the workroom saying how disappointed she is and that
Yeah,
she this isn't good for her. And it's funny because they're setting her up just from a narrative for the show to be like, oh, she's going to be in the bottom. Surprise, she won't be. But she really didn't think it was good, and it's fine. Like I wrote, like it was low in any other franchise design challenge. She knew it
thank you.
wasn't that
Yeah.
good. That's their like if I were them, I would never have had that quote of her saying that in the first place.
Yeah.
Just don't let them think that this isn't good. Don't let
Yes.
the audience think that.
Yeah. Uh, Sanjina comes out in what I would effectively call fabric. It is blowing around.
Stone,
She
stone fabric.
stone fabric. Yes, my apologies. She actually has a headpiece. The headpiece I actually really like a lot. But the rest of the thing is just unfocused, is how I would describe the outfit that she wore for the slow motion part. But man, when we get to the design one, she describes it as kind of a banji, kind of a hood girl outfit on there, kind of this pink bra, pink panties, and then she has kind of this mesh wig piece that goes on. The panties are so large that it almost gives diaper. Like there is a bit of fabric up in front of it, but it's just like bulka bulka right there. It was not great, is how I would describe it.
No, it was really bad. Like it was bad. I want to say about her first one. My 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 issue with the first look was the headpiece was great. but the I don't understand what was going on with the skirt. Like it was too low off her hip, and I didn't know if it was because it was ill-fitting or that's what she thought looked cool, but it didn't flatter her body.
Yeah.
So she comes out and you can tell she's trying to make it look sexy, but she's doing all these things with her hands up to try to elongate herself. It's almost like Virgo or another queen in the workroom said, "Girl, you need to like do something to like make it." And I just again, she thinks these looks were good. Like she's not even honest. So the thing is, like, I respect queens who are like, hey, I'm not good at designer. I did this and it didn't work. But we'll even get to the end of this episode where she uses it, her own work as an excuse. And I'm like, oh, let's move on. I can't with her. I just,
Okay. Then we get over to genuinely one of the most disappointing parts of the night, Michaela. For her first look, it's an orange pink mermaid thing that basically she describes them. It's kind of this flamenco style ruffle that's
Mhm.
going on across both her legs and her arms. She has these things, not earrings, but things wrapping around her ears, which she refers to as quote goldfish thingamabobs. And it's like so almost a look. It's so almost an idea, but it just doesn't hit that finish line for me.
I thought it was ill-fitting. I
Yeah.
felt like either she lost some weight since she got it or she borrowed it from someone and it just didn't fit well, which is okay. This is a constant, this is a big thing with Canada this year. Like a lot of them either don't have money or they're not friends with designers or they're just they're pulling things together, which is okay. That's fine. She did not need the fish makeup. Like I thought it was distracting and actually the look would have worked better. Remember, it's just supposed to be slow motion. So she doesn't need to go that extra mile.
Yeah.
I thought she overthought it.
Yes. And then I think she way definitely overthought what she did for her design look too,
Yeah.
which was basically this graphic fabric thing, which is actually kind of a cool color of a fabric. It's kind of a cool texture. The details, the lining of the edges are definitely unfinished, and it is so fucking short. It is distracting. It is just, my heart really broke on this one here, seeing it walk out, and I was just like, I know she's part of House of Couture, and I know she has a certain level that she wants to hold up to, but it was just rough. I knew the second I saw it, I'm like, oh, you're probably going to be in the bottom this week.
Yeah, it was not good. She is unintentionally giving Priyanka season one in many ways. And I don't know if that's I hope that works in 2024. We'll find out. Or
Yeah,
almost, I guess 2025 will in a couple weeks. Yeah.
we'll see. Zana comes out. She has the first thing that she has is basically kind of this like corset thing that has some feathers attached to it, along with basically effectively like this head cone thing. It's fucking great. I actually really liked it. I thought it actually. Greg's giving me a look right now. I actually thought it was one of the more dynamic things that I thought she's actually worn, and I was kind of like, okay. I saw a little bit more of a vision than what I've seen from some of her other looks so far. It was actually I liked it.
Why don't you talk about the second look for her, and then I'm going to talk about both. So go for
Great,
it.
great.
What's the
So
second? Let's go
then
with the second look.
Then she comes out, fast fashion, mind you. She comes out in a clothespin design and basically this red head wrap cowl thing with a bunch of spikes on it as well, then a spike necklace, and then triangle silver shoulders that are coming out here, as well as kind of like a more of a triangle base on there, which is to me seems not fast fashion in any way whatsoever. But it's certainly a design challenge. It looks like something you make during design challenge. I don't think it hits the prompt at all, but boy was she wearing it. That is unmistakably she was wearing it.
Xana is wild. Xana thought she should have been in the top in the workroom. She was upset. I'm sure this will spill over into the beginning of next
As
episode.
always with
First of
her.
all, for the first look, girl, that is feathers and fabric hot glued to a corset. Like, come on. Like, she's like, I designed this, I made this. You and I, do you want to go buy a corset? We could do this right now. I will give her credit on the headdress. The headdress for that look was very cool, and that was she's done this before in I think another episode. She can make great headdress stuff. She can do great
Yes.
stuff with wigs. I don't know if the rest of the looks are always live up to that.
Yeah.
But here it's made her safe. The second look looked like it was falling apart. Like it was an interesting idea with terrible execution. I
Yeah.
actually thought the headdress from the first look saved her from being low. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was just, but her delusion of like, I can't believe I'm not high this week just sent me. I was like, come on.
I think it is kind of the thing where I do believe that I'm not saying that it's explicitly Melinda Verga, but Canada has a thing for always casting an actual villain every season. We've seen it with Fierce Alicious. We've seen it, I think, somewhat accidentally with Melinda Verga. We've seen it with basically they always hire these bad girls to kind of come on the shows and definitely give a little bit more amp and a little bit more shade than I think sometimes we're used to on there. I think they had to know what they were getting with Xana.
Well, I will say this about Xana. Xana did say that she raised $5,000 for Sanjine for her breast surgery after the show ended, like this past spring or summer. So there is goodness to Xana.
Mhm.
We don't want to portray her as a total villain. I think on
Right.
camera and on this show, she is showing a side. She's showing a very competitive side to herself, which is good TV. It's
Yes,
good TV.
I would absolutely say that. Jaylene, here's the thing. I've kind of gone back and forth on like I think like last week when she lost the lip sync, it's like I've liked Jaylene. I like her perspective on things. I'm not sure if she's fully a drag race girl. Proved me fucking wrong. She had a great week this week. She had her first dress, the slow motion one. It was this golden turtle set on this like designed water outfit, kind of a corsety type thing, but there was a lot more fabric going on. And I loved it because the water fabric really embraced the white, like the top, the cresting of a wave over a lot of it. So there was a lot of detail that was going on over here. She had a turtle on her chest. She had a turtle on her headpiece. Go ahead.
By the way, what you were just talking about with that look, did that remind you of anyone?
Uh, I mean, it kind of reminded me of one that we saw earlier with Helena a little bit.
No, Nikita had last week.
That's
It's
right.
almost the same dress. It's not. It's just
Yeah,
coincidence. The fabric isn't even the same, but it's so similar that that was the first thing I remembered, and I was just like, "Oh wow, how random that like they both shot and they have looks like this." But again, I keep going. If you want to keep talking about the first look, but if I my only other thing about the look is I thought it was very good, but it was also very clear that that was one look that she had, and then they added all the aquamarine, like the cape and everything, and it looked good, but you could tell it was combined together. Like it was
yeah,
not essentially designed because that aquamarine does not go with that other sort of
yeah.
more dark blue, ocean blue. It's like it's too far away on a color scheme. And but I thought she came out and I was like, well, compared to everybody else, like this is good. This looks
Yeah.
really good to
If
me.
this if this is embellishing drag closet, then this is a smart embellishment. Like
Yeah.
she's no dummy on the looks department. Also, when you've had a career as long as you had, you're gonna have some good pieces that you've stacked up over time. And then the one that she designed is the kind of thing. Is there a wow factor to it? No. But I would say that it was solid. It was safe. I think in any other US season it would be a safe choice. But because we're talking about a Canada design season, her gold printed 50s businesswoman outfit with the updo wrapped up in fabric that she has for the hair. Like, it's solid. Like, I didn't have anything bad to say about it. I was literally like, when I saw it happen here after there were like three other queens that had yet to go, I'm like, she might be in the top this week, legitimately. And fun fact,
It,
she was.
she made it in the workroom and it was very Drag Race season 2, 3, and 4, like
Hmm.
US Drag Race. And that's fine. It worked. And especially in this bizarre results from her fellow contestants, like I was not mad at it. I knew she'd be at least be safe.
Yeah. Speaking of things that you may or may not be mad at, oh my god, comes out first off in the drag ostrich look. She is a queen riding an ostrich. She has ostrich legs and everything. The ostrich has lipstick that is red and glittery on her. It's a stupid look. It is a fun look. It's insane. I have a good time with it.
I did. Let's save for why this look meant something to her afterwards. But in context, my thought was I liked the comedy in this, but I've seen this already, which is
Yes.
unfortunate because of what we'll find out about later.
Yes.
So no one had ever done this before except over the past couple years. And
Yes.
some people beat her to the punch, and theirs was just a little bit better than this. But I loved her performance of it, and I didn't think I thought it was good. Um, let's talk about her second look. If you do you want to go?
Greg, I'm not high. I don't have drugs on me. And I think I would need to in order to fully comprehend whatever the fuck is going on with this second look that she made. And
Really? I thought it was fine.
you
Really
thought? Oh my god. Okay. So
fine. For design challenge, I thought Rue would have been safe.
yeah,
Like
I believe that too. So basically she has this sharp knee. It's like we've seen a look actually very similar that she wore earlier this season that actually had a
Yeah.
colored kind of a knit wool mesh style to it here. But it was this neon. It was basically kind of this. Then she had this orange mesh top with kind of like these neon yellow sleeves that are kind of going and like kind of up and down. It is chaos. It is truly one of those outfits where your eye has no actual focal point to go on to, so it's just kind of all over the place.
I think the only thing that was my problem with it is the breastplate didn't work with the
Oh
material on the
God.
top. But she made pants. And I
He
feel like
did.
she made pants and she was low. And the pants looked good and cut. And Michelle would have been, I will give props to someone like Michelle. Michelle would have been given her credit for doing that. That's hard to do than just to make like to do what some of the other girls did. This is why Minnie won. We're giving it away, but like Minnie won. It's Minnie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Minnie won because of
Anyway.
what she made in that cat suit, which is she. I feel like Uma should have gotten credit for that, and I was actually shocked she was low. I thought
Mhm.
the reason they put her in low is because they wanted to have a potential lip sync, and they got it.
Yes, they did. Absolutely. Well, then we're almost to the end. We get
Yeah.
Virgo, who comes out, basically kind of this various strips of kind of like that J.Lo green Versace fabric, basically. Um, it didn't leave as much of an impact on me as I thought. It was very much relying on that body kind of outfit.
Basic. It was so basic.
Yeah.
Also, her saying like talking about Crystal Versace during her entire walk, like with the wig. Like, girl, what is happening? Like, I mean, okay, all right,
Sure. Have fun.
sure.
Yeah. And then she comes out and the one that she designed, she describes it as a banshee schoolgirl outfit, and I'm frustrated because like the concept is there. I think I can see her worldview, I can see her vision. There's just so little of it. Like it is basically everything that you need to see is basically from like hips to waist, like right here. There's no dimension, there's no volume going outside the shape of her body, outside of her silhouette. It's basically like a couple different layers right here, and that's kind of it.
I think I liked it a little bit more than you. I think she needed the red skirt to go. I think she thought she was being fashion forward by
Mhm.
having just the skirt, like the ruffle thing, just around half of it. And I think in hindsight, when she probably saw it on television, she probably thought, "Oh, I should have done it all the way around,"
Yeah.
because it still would have looked contemporary. It still would.
Mhm.
It actually would have looked more fast fashion, and it still would have looked slightly bangy, which is what she wanted.
Yeah.
So, but I did like how she actually took the fabric and made it on the pieces that she had on the corset. Like she did sew all that, and it looked clean. So
Mhm.
she was safe, right? I can't remember.
Yeah, she was. She absolutely was.
Good.
And also,
I would again. I think she got dinged because the first look was so basic.
yeah,
Um, she had more of an argument to be high than I thought the other two did.
I would agree. It fit the brief extremely well. And the thing is, like, the details that were there were good. I just wanted more of it. It just felt so minimal, to, I guess, to everyone, what everyone else is doing, which there can be an argument for what that is. But yeah, I thought it was, she could have done better. It was fine.
So
And
let's get
then
to the queen who is lucky as fuck. Like that is my take.
absolutely. And then we have last but not least Perla. She comes back. First her first look, her slow motion one. It's kind of this throwback girlish cape print that she has, which is white and has kind of like all these red designs over there. It's good. It's a statement piece on there. It definitely doesn't feel designed for slow motion. It definitely feels drag closet, absolutely. But go ahead.
But she says, boarding the plane to her Oscar-winning role. What 3-year-old 1930s Hollywood actress is this? Her, like, I was what? I literally wrote in caps, what? Like, what are you talking about? She could have just, I, there is a weird taste thing with her where she's trying so hard and she just can't always make it fit. And I hope that as the years go on, it starts to fit a little bit more. But
I
she
would.
shows great like this, by the way, wonderfully made, like looks
Yes.
great. I don't even think it actually is drag. She probably did make it for this, thinking it was like an interesting thing with the cape or slow mo. But I also was like, what is the story you want to say with your drag with this? Like that's what I don't get. Maybe it was drag closet. Like it didn't seem like something she would have ever worn. Like I
Right.
Like she wouldn't perform a number in this. That's not her aesthetic. So
And
why
also,
this?
it also didn't feel slow motion couture. Like there wasn't as many elements that I thought were going to be necessarily look cool if you're spinning or twirling or whatnot. But either way, her design look, it's more. She also goes with cat suit, but hers is one that is more specifically with draped velvet and then some very high boots that she goes with on there. I, I don't know. I was expecting more from it
Oh,
personally.
terrible. Like just terrible. The more you look at it, the worse it is. Like she is so lucky they were only on that runway for as long as they were, and then the judges were like, "You're safe." Because I think if they had another 3 minutes, she would have been low. Maybe Uma would have been safe, or who else was low?
It
No,
was Sanjina and Michaela were in the bottom with Uma.
no, they were definitely going to be low. Maybe it was between her and Uma, but it's just a mess. And most of half of the outfit are her like up to her crotch, thigh high boots that are just so long that they're like making up half the look. That was you have told us you are a fashion queen. This is not something any fashion queen on any season would do. And I'm not trying to be mean, but also I apologize to people listening. My cat died like 72 hours ago. So it's been a rough week. So I'm probably being slightly harsher. So Pearl, if you are listening, I do love you as a queen, but this was not your week.
Uh, with that said, we go over there. We know Sanjina, Michaela, and Uma are in the bottom. And in the tops are Helena, Jaylene, and Minnie. Jaylene and Minnie, I think, are kind of obvious on there. Helena, I guess so. I don't know who I'd replace her with if I had to.
Oh wow. I mean, I don't know if there is anyone else to
Yeah, I think she
like
might. It might be that's how it worked out. So,
wait, let me look double. No, I don't think. No, it's just how it worked out. Like
yeah,
there was I guess you could have made the argument for Virgo a little out of all the three that were safe, like Virgo probably had the best argument, but that first look was so like that's a brunch look in Toronto, like in the summer. Like
yeah.
I dry closet. Like fine. Look good though.
But either way, we make it over there. Minnie Wang is the winner. I actually thought it was maybe going to go to Jaylene, so I was actually fairly pleasantly surprised by that. And credit to her. She's doing the Maggie Yellow and showing that the pit crew members they actually got something to prove, and I think that's cool. It was funny in the boudoir shirt. She was with one of the pit crew members who was in her pit crew season too, so she got to be on kind of both
Oh,
sides.
oh wait, you know what? We forgot to talk about this really quick before we say the mini challenge they did this week. First of all, I can't believe we skipped this. The one thing this episode had that was way too much is listen, I know that they want to have sponsorship, but there was a bit too much Joanna Griffiths for this episode. Joanna
Oh,
Griffiths is the CEO of whatever
during
this
the boudoir shoot that we talked,
like
yeah.
Skims things is, and also and I just hope the check cashed. I know it did, but I that was my hope. Also, I will give Joanna her props. She's on the board of the Toronto International Film Festival, so I found that out when I Googled her name. So I will not discredit her in any ways, but damn, we did not need her to actually be in the mini challenge. Like, not necessary at all. But
We
we love our straight allies.
Yes, yes. And
Uh,
Norvina.
and the one other thing about the mini challenge is, and I think we just blocked it out. I think you blocked it out, Evan. These were the worst angle shots of any photo shoot I have ever seen. There were literally everyone I like unflattering for the queen, who just some beautiful queens, like
Yeah.
naturally. But this weird low angle where they're like back like on the bed. It was so anyway.
Yeah.
So sorry we didn't bring that up, but we were trying to spare you. But I had to give Joanna Griffiths, future regular Canada's Drag Race host or judge, if they spend more next season, I guess.
We'll
Um,
see.
we'll
Is
see.
Crave original.
A Crave original.
But either way, hey, Minnie Wang. So then they have to go ahead and determine who's the bottom three is going to be there, and this is where the drama comes in here, where some of the queens are talking about, I'm really learning a lot about what I can and cannot do here, and Xana being like, well, you shouldn't come here to fucking learn. This is a competition. You should, and just like, Jesus fucking Christ, girl. And then as they're pleading their case, Sanjina, it comes off as really entitled and bitter too, because they're kind of going through and talking about, well, who would you save? Well, I'd save Michaela. I'd save whatever. And Michaela's trying to be cool. Michaela's doing her best and working through it. And Sanjina just really is just I don't want to say victim carding it, but really just it feels entitled to this whole thing where and again, I think it's either delusion or just thinking that this is, not a television show and just a legitimate game. But yeah, it's just not. She was happy to help Virgo decide who gets the beaver last week, but now in completing her case is just all over the place emotionally.
So I have 2 points. The
Hmm.
first one, I just want to go back to Xana for just a quick second. This is
Our
a
queen,
very much of a Tamar. Do you watch the show? No. Do you watch the show,
Tamar.
Tamar? Tamar? Um, how many queens have won Drag Race because they had an arc where they grew as a queen and learned on the show? By the way, not just the US season, on Canada seasons, in international seasons, on UK seasons, on France season. Like, girl, have you watched the show? That was the most bizarre comment I've ever heard.
And they called her out on it, and rightly fucking
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
She still wouldn't back down, which was bizarre. I feel like I've already, been tough on Sanjana, but again, she's in here. She knows she's going home, and or she thinks she might. It is a weird. It is a. She has such a confidence, and she wants to do so well on the show. I get it. She'd only be the third queen going home, I think, at this point, and
Hmm.
she's probably freaked out about it. But week after week, she has been delusional.
Yeah.
And there's confidence, and then there is recognizing what you have done. I always have
Yes.
more respect for the queens when they got off the show and they said, "Oh, I knew I was terrible that week. There's no conspiracy. Like I knew I was going home."
Right. And I think even like last week, I mean, I had so much respect. I had changed to turn the corner on Perla because like she's in the bottom two and you see her face. She's like, whatever, I'm here. I'm ready to do
Yeah.
it. It's not that she didn't care whether or not she was going home. She was just like, yeah, let's do this. Like she just, and she wasn't broken in the way where, again, I think Sanjay unfortunately has a thin skin about these kinds of things and lets everything get to her. And so is in a lip sync. Michaela is saved by Minhee with the Golden Beaver. So it's now,
Which I disagreed with, and I don't understand. And I think they're friends, and I think that's been determined after the show, like
okay.
because they're both Toronto queens, and Uma isn't a Toronto queen. I think she's like somewhere else in Ontario. I could be wrong, but
Who would you have saved?
no, it wasn't. It was Uma. It was Ua. It
Uma
was
versus Sanjina.
right, but Michaela was saved.
Yes.
Right, my Michaela and Minnie are friends.
Right.
Minnie saved Michaela, and I
Yeah.
think it didn't really come across in the show that they were friends and knew each other.
No, they did not.
Yes, and I think that was a smart hide that was smart that they hid that or that they didn't talk about it. But once I found that out after, it made more sense because I thought Uma should have been saved, especially after her first look. We should also talk about we need to close the book on Uma's ostrich
Yes.
look. She has this moment where one of the queens gets very upset that she
Oh,
gets
thank you for bringing this
emotional,
up. I forgot.
that she's crying, that she's so happy because she got to where she applied for Canada's Drag Race season 1, and I'm going to guess, this is only a guess, that she was a backup. And when you're a backup, you buy outfits just in case. It's because they only give you like a week or they give you less time. And she bought that ostrich costume to do up for a runway. I don't even know which one it would have been. I got to go back to season 1 and see what she would have done it for. Maybe it was her entrance. Who knows?
Mhm.
And she had kept it in her closet, literal closet, and had not worn it in 4 years, 5 years, because she wasn't going to wear it till she was on the show. And she was emotional that she got to do that. And she was sharing that with the girls in a very Ben de la Creme moment, which was probably not when all the other girls wanted to hear someone crying tears of joy for being in the bottom. And I got it, and I'm glad she shared it, but I'm sure she watched it on TV and also said, "Oh, I could have talked about that in the next, like when this show was over and we went in for the episode the next day." So, but yeah, I that was sort of it was a very again the Canada workrooms always bringing they're
The
always
real moments all together. I think at some point we need to have a deep dive into backup queens too, because I remember very
yeah.
infamously Tamisha Iman was on the USCs was supposed to be on season 12, but then after her diagnosis then got pushed back to season 13, and then the queen that replaced her was Jada Essence Hall, which who ended up winning the season. So there's some fun stuff there. But either way, Uma and Sanjina go up to Contemporary Love by Rev. And it's an upbeat song, and it's a jumpy song, and it's the kind of thing where I had pre-written down that Uma was going home, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that she did not. I wasn't sure, and again, this is we're talking about for judging this week. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the kind of thing where they were going to judge it specifically on narrative or what the actual lip sync was, but this is the second time that we've seen Uma give real intentionality when she's lip syncing. She's not doing the tricks and the dips and the whatnot, but she's giving space. She's trying out different moves. And most importantly, whenever you see a queen in a lip sync, there's doing moves of just flailing and trying out something there. And then there's confidently doing, moves like here and there. And there was a weird confidence that to Uma, this is the second time in a row now that we've seen it, to hold it up there versus Sanjina, who has a lot of energy, but it is chaotic and all over the place and not focused in a certain way. So at the end of it, I'm like, I think Uma won the lip sync. And then after the psychic acknowledgement from the judges, they said, yes, indeed, Uma won the lip sync.
So my take with this was Uma won it and rightfully won it,
Yeah.
but she also won it because Sanjina's outfit kept falling apart and she was having to hold her to cover her chest,
The
whatever
entire
that
time.
bra. It's not even a bra. It was just a piece of fabric that's supposed to be over her breasts, and
Yeah.
it was so falling down.
And they blurred
Someone
out the times when she wasn't able to hold it up. You could see that in the edit. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also cut around it. There was a couple times where they like clearly like, okay, we have to use this shot
Yeah.
because we can't use this other one, and that's some nice live cutting. By the way, people don't know this. They for the most part, most lip syncs are live cut, like live television. And then if there's a issue, they'll go in and fix it. But the whole idea is to capture the energy of the live cut, like live television. So I did think that Sanjina Sanjina lost it because partially that, but also because she was doing the same things she'd done in her other lip syncs.
Yes.
And I think Uma was doing something slightly different than we'd seen her before, but Uma also was very smart. And I don't know when she did it, but she somehow convinced all of her fellow cast members that even though she was a performer, she wasn't a good lip syncer. And they had never really seen her lip sync. They thought she was more like a comedy performer, singer thing, and she can perform. I will
Mhm.
say I did have a question at the moment. Like the last 5 seconds or 10 seconds of that lip sync, she repeats something that she had done before. And for the first second, I went, oh, wait, why are you doing this again? Like now it's not working. Like she almost blew it at the end. And maybe if
Mhm.
St. John had a better, like her outfit had stayed and she could have done 20 million other things, like she would have pulled it off. But I also felt like Uma's outfits weren't bad enough to send her home. And
Right.
this is also Sanjana has been low. Wasn't she in the bottom already? Or no, is this her first bottom?
This, I think, was her first true bottom, if I'm not mistaken.
She was low before, right?
Yeah, she absolutely was low before, but then she did the lip sync as part of the lip sync
Yeah.
SmackDown and won that. Yeah.
Right. But she shouldn't have. That was the one to Perla. We've already had that. So I feel like I also feel like this was on Sanjana. She rightfully lost. It's time to go home.
I
And then
think even if she could hold up her top, I don't know if she would have won. It still felt very chaotic all
true.
ultimately together. It
But
certainly
then,
didn't help, obviously, but yeah.
and then she goes into the workroom and she's literally saying, she's just being super bitter and like with a smile, but
Yeah.
saying, if my outfit hadn't come, I would have won this. Like there is again, confidence versus delusion. And I don't know. Was she like this on that other show?
No, I mean she didn't last as long. I will say that
Right.
in Call Me Mother, but she definitely was more like she was doing a lot of the mannerisms that she has, but not in the same bitter way that she is now. So I'm not sure if it's the time in the scene or whatnot, but definitely it wasn't. I didn't love her then. She was still messy then, but it definitely you would think that there would be some maturity or whatnot that would change there, and sadly that has not been the case.
So, Evan, we are now 3 or 4 episodes into Canada. Is this
This is the
episode
fourth
4?
episode.
So Canada, I have a question for you. 4 episodes into Canada's Drag Race, season 5, right? Season
Yes.
5. Who do you think is winning and why?
God, that is a tough fucking question here. Well, here's I think the question is, who do I think is going to win versus who do I want to win?
No,
And
who is the show telling you is going to win?
I would say. Virgo Queen, if I were to guess.
But did Virgo feel like a winner this week?
No, not at all.
Mm-mm.
Who are
Did
you?
No, I don't know who's going to win, but did Michaela feel like a winner this week?
She didn't feel like a winner, but she did feel like she was definitely part of the narrative, which definitely implies that she is going to be closer to maybe potentially being a winner.
Okay. All right. I thought this, I think, Helena and her and Virgo are the ones that should make it to the end,
Hmm.
at least right now. But I I feel like we have a little bit of the next show we're going to talk about, a little bit of Espana, where it's sort of unclear who the real. There's no Frankie Wonga here. There's
Yeah,
no Maxi. There's no Kieran Lavoie. Like where it's clearly either the two of them. It's a little open.
yeah. Even Jaylene has a shot at this point, and she's still a little kind of all over the place for me, but we'll see. There's no real
No.
definitive, which is kind of exciting at the same time because you never really know. But hey, we'll see that there, and hey, we got to take a second and stop because we're already running long, and that's important because we have one episode to cover, and that is the goddamn grand finale of Espana live and in concert. And let me just tell you something. Just we can blaze through a lot of this pretty quickly because a lot
Yeah.
of it is fluff and package and whatnot. But there's something about the live finales that I just love. You could feel the energy in the room. You could see it in the performance. It's just fucking fun, man.
I loved it. And my heart broke when Supreme came out and said, "Do you know how many times we watched those live US finales and they'd fill up those theaters and we thought we couldn't do it?" And I'm like, well, now WoW doesn't want to do it, so I'm glad you guys are doing it. Um, although supposedly they haven't shot the season 17 finale. Who knows? It's unclear. Fingers crossed. They might still shoot it in a freaking set again with nobody there. But I did love that they had it, and I loved the opening number when Supreme came out.
Fuego by Supreme. It was just
Great
people all
song.
loved it. Yeah.
They all love the song. Supreme, not a dancer, but that's
Yep.
okay. She's a
She's no
performer.
Mama Pow, but
No,
it's okay. We still love her all the goddamn same. Rest
we
assured.
love her all the same. I thought it was for their first time, it was a very impressive live finale.
Yes. I would say so. I do. The one thing I will say that is probably my biggest negative about this finale is that they did bring in global all-star winner Alyssa Edwards, uh, but they cut to her so fucking much. And like it's great, you global unity. We're celebrating other franchises there. But also we bring in someone who does not speak Spanish. And is asked to give commentary about all the numbers and applaud yourself. Espana, applaud
Jeez.
yourself. You deserve
Alyssa,
it.
Alyssa literally pulled out every cliche like line she has ever given to any of her dance students to every single one of those numbers. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but
It's
I
no accident that you're in the finale.
she had them all like written down beforehand. She'd memorized them. But also Supreme did say, if you're upset we're speaking English, fuck you, or whatever she
Yeah.
said, like we're fucking doing this. Um, I I just loved the joy in the room. First of all, can we just talk about how amazing Anna Locking looked? Like unfucking believable. Like
The
so good.
double bump head wig thing, incredible. Uh, uh,
And
Ambrosi okay. I mean, sorry, Calvo okay. Ambrosi
do you
rather
not notice those
beautiful.
were outfits they'd worn on the seasons?
Yeah,
They re-wore outfits. They were wearing they like there are frugal television producers directors. They're saying,
the
listen,
fashion standards of men and women are different. Let me tell you.
dude, times are tough in global television right now. Got to save money where you can.
Yeah,
Um,
no, not everyone can be a Stan original.
no. But they all look great and they were so excited.
Yeah.
Um, so one quick thing if you're watching this episode and you're wondering why is Supreme looking at cards the whole time, which is not something Nikki does during her
Hmm.
finales and not something that Haru has ever done. It's because they put that stage there.
Hmm.
They did the America's Got Talent sort of, X Factor, in the audience stage thing, which has never been done in a US or France live finale. And the reason they did that is because they wanted the judges to be part of the show inherently. But also when you do that, it's hard to hide the teleprompter. So
Hmm.
that's why she had to do it. And I was very impressed that Supreme pulled it off as well as she did. There were a couple times where I was like, speaking of like, it was like a little like, oh wow, you're really having to do this. And I did feel for her, and I hope next time they do the live finale, they figure out a way to make the judges a part of it without having to bring in the desk.
Yeah, because also you could tell Supreme was struggling through the English. Like she has
What?
not. Yeah, I
Really?
thought there were a couple times where you could see, like, especially in the translation, there was some slurs that that were going on
Oh,
between the words, and so will not be competing on Global All Stars, from what I understand.
I will also say they very much cut this like a live show. They did
Yes.
not cut this to the skin teeth like the US and even France, like very much followed the US model of like cutting, 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 not to show the seams. And I thought they did make it feel like you were watching something that was happening right then with very few like fake commercial breaks.
Yes. They did have a lot of packages of the queens. They did have some, everyone did some couple songs over there. We had, of course, our final two lip sync on there. Ultimately, the things that I most want to talk about, though, are the returning drag looks from all of
Yeah.
our queens, then the individual numbers, and then, of course, our final lip sync here. So let's get into the category is all bring back my girls, all my girls.
To the
Best
grand finale.
for the my best drag look
Yes, best
because
drag.
they had time to do it. Starting off with Shawnee. She comes out here in a jeweled corset dress, and she has a handbag that seems to be made out of black plumage, which is actually pretty tight. She looked good.
Best she's ever looked.
Oh,
Like
easily.
literally loved it. Literally, this is when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is what you want your drag to be. Like she
Yes.
finally figured it out. She looked great.
Yes, absolutely. Crystal Method comes, I'm sorry, no, this Porca the Club Kid comes out as a Christmas tree for some goddamn reason.
Well, they
Uh,
shot it a week, 2 weeks ago.
I know. Listen, it's I'm not sure if I would call it great, but I would call it camp, and I will give her props to that.
I,
Absolutely.
I love that she dressed for Christmas. I thought it was appropriate, but if someone randomly watches this in March, they'll be like, why is she
What the
dressed like
fuck?
a Christmas tree? Like,
Exactly.
look, it was like she may should have thought about that, but I thought it was insanely executed for her.
Hey sis, it's Christmas. So uh Dita, Dita comes out. She has this look that is basically kind of this multiple layers of sashes
Yeah.
that are kind of
Which
all
is our
together.
congeniality.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck, this is the best you've ever looked. And then she takes it off to
And
reveal a dress that's very pretty. I liked it when the sash part was on so much more than the actual reveal.
oh, I actually thought she was stunning after the reveal.
Oh,
I
really?
love that
Oh,
dress.
interesting.
I thought she looked incredible. I
Yeah,
I thought I was like, again, the best she'd ever. I to be honest,
easily.
outside of one queen, I all thought they all had incredible glow ups. I thought they looked incredible.
Yeah. Oh, while we're on that topic, fucking Kelly Pasa. She comes out here. She has an actual poodle wig. We have seen animal wigs before, but she actually has a poodle head on her wig. She has her skin tone is like Juno Birch colored,
Mhm.
like that she has on there, and a giant pointy ass fucking bra. Easily the look that will stay with me the most out of anything that I've seen this evening. Like it's like insane and fantastic, and I'm like, yes, I wanted more of this during your season. It was great.
First of all, you know that both Jimbo and Katya want to steal that head piece like right now. I'm also hoping that's not a real dog head. Like I'm just so dear God. Like there was a number later on in the show and she replaced it with like a more traditional sort of
Uh-huh.
wig when they did the drag number to salute the I'm sort of getting ahead of ourselves, but they did a um for the legendary queens who fought fascism and all that, they sort of brought out that number from the season and she had changed her, she pulled the dog thing off. But that was incredible, like so
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Miss Christo comes out. How would I describe this? Like sexy Marge Simpson, is how I would describe her blue wig chiffon look that she has.
I just wrote wow. I thought it was great. I thought it was so good.
He was just so stylish, and it's the kind of thing where, like, she was such a concept queen that to see her do a little bit more vampy sexy
Mhm.
like that, like, I was down.
Smart. A
Yeah.
nice misdirect for her so people would remember her.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not sure which queen you were disappointed in. I'm gonna take a guess though, and ask if
Could it,
Angelita,
could it be?
in her bland devil Scorpio look with a mermaid tool finish, I don't know. Could it be?
Could it be? It was the look was first of all, I liked her for embracing the villain that she was.
Yes, that did
But
enjoy that.
what disappointed me wasn't the look. The look was fine. What disappointed me is when she there's a you could clearly see when she turned around, you could still see her beard. You could still, she hasn't fixed it. Like, so easy, girl. The crazy thing about it is when she has been like in the workroom where they've shown it's not that dark. Like, she's
Mhm.
just so putting on regular girl makeup. Girl, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, anyway.
She played
Please,
into her part absolutely
yes.
in every way, including with the fashion that we've seen from her earlier in the season. Maggie Yellow comes out as a golden tree with hearts hanging from them. The back of the tree seemed a little wibbly wobbly, but overall, it was a good look.
I love the idea. I thought it was clunky, and
Yeah,
she probably in hindsight would have figured out something else. But I'm sure when she was standing, she thought it was great. I'm not sure she knew when she had to walk, it would be that clunky. But
that jangly
again,
jangly.
she she looked good. Like
Yeah,
they all look so good.
yeah. Mariana Stars. She comes out as a dolled up princess.
No one, no, no one, no one who doesn't watch the show is going to understand what you just did there. That is really fucking
Oh,
funny.
but if you've seen, you are aware of the Mariana-ness of it all. I thought not to be that guy, I also
Yeah.
thought that my Uma God earlier was pretty good. But we'll get into impressions later. But she comes out, she's basically a dolled up princess look, with teal flowers. It's lovely. It is beautifully fitting on her.
Very
It's the kind of thing
beautiful.
where we have seen kind of that silhouette before, but I also kind of don't care because it's just so well executed.
You know what? She realized everyone else was going to do something like opulent over the top, and she sort of
Mhm.
like went down a very smart direction so she would at least be remembered and not be seem like the other queen who did something crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I thought she did good.
Yeah.
La Nina, my queen, my ride or die. It was a little bit disappointing, I'll be honest. Was expecting a little bit more from her, but she still had a lovely outfit. Basically, the center point was a golden heart with some stab wounds through it, and then there was some kind of bloody slashes on her dress over there. It was good. It was a little bit more minimal than what I've normally seen from her. She still looked great, absolutely. It's the kind of thing where for a finale, I just kind of want a little bit more oomph.
Uh, I thought it actually was great. I thought because it was something for the fans because they had their hearts broken and stabbed because
Mhm.
she didn't make it to the final or the top four. I also, you know what, you might want to rewatch it. I think she changed her eye makeup. And I
Ooh.
think her makeup may have made you think it looked more minimal than it was because I think I need to double check, but I remember thinking her face looked different. And I think it might be her eyebrow makeup. She used to have those hot, very like
Yeah, yeah.
dark. I think she's no longer doing that or she's mixed it up a bit. So it could have been that.
Yeah. Then we have Chloe V2. She comes out in what I would effectively call a red sparkle jumpsuit that is extremely on brand for Chloe V2.
I thought I wrote the wig was incredible. Like I was sort of blown away. I will say to get it, I'm also getting ahead of myself. For this episode, I don't think before this episode I understood Chloe V2's drag through
Hmm.
the entire season. Like I sort of did, but this episode made me realize, oh no, this is what she is as a queen. Now I
Hmm.
understand who she is.
Yeah,
And that's probably the best thing about this episode they got one more is I 100% understand who she is as a queen.
yeah. Like, and I think it wasn't just her video package either. I think just overall, she just like she
Yeah.
has.
The
I don't.
number, everything.
Yeah, she has a big tittied. I don't want to say trashy aesthetic, but she definitely has a perspective because she gave us so many great looks. She had the bread look from earlier in the season, which was one of the best that we had
Yeah.
seen. And so it was just it was. I thought it really clarified a point. I wanted a little bit more out of just more of the red sparkle body jumpsuit there. I do agree the wig was fantastic, but she has other looks later on, so I'm not too worried. She's our
I
top
just
three
also thought
girl.
she looked great, and it gave me like I realized she's like a little bit Jimbo, but like she's like the whore Jimbo when
Mhm.
Jimbo does whore and not clown, like meaning street whore or
Yeah,
street worker. And when
or street
Plain
clown.
Jane goes down that road, it was a little bit of that. It's a little bit of a Spanish influenced version of that. It's her own thing. She's not
Yeah,
copying them, but I get it now. I understand like sort of the fun drag she's going for.
slut. Yes.
Yes. And you know what happens? You bring up that bread loop, but because they have all these conceptual runways, and by the way, this is such a horrible, like, negative to have about your show. Uh, I'm not being serious. is they don't always get to show their brand of drag because they're trying to be so impressive with what these runways are. And I think that's why I didn't really get Chloe till the end, is because she so was trying to win and shape her drag every single week that her own brand didn't always get to come through.
Well, to that end, the next queen right after her is Vampirasian, and it's like, wait a second, your name is Vampirasian, and during the grand finale, you're finally gonna dress like a fucking vampire? Holy shit, who thought that was gonna come out here? Because her name is Vampirasian. No, wait, hold on,
No,
sorry. The booth is telling me that she, in during the course of finale, decides to change her name to La Bella Vamp.
she did it
So
for me. Evan, she did it for me because I
you
can never
did.
pronounce the name. She's been listening
Listen,
to the podcast.
Vampirasian is listening right now. So you listeners right now, it's like you're standing on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Vampirasian has been where you are, listening to the critiques of Worldwide Tea. I'm so glad she listened to our pivot so Greg can pronounce La Bella Vampi going forward. Low
Also,
key, low
it's a
key.
better name. It's a
It
better name.
I mean, because it takes out the fucking Ashian, which she never
Yeah.
was. But also her look, this bloodstained Victorian outfit with the flapping, like a stupid flapping bat. I liked it a lot. I thought it was
Yeah,
fantastic,
good.
actually. The
I,
one of
I
the
wrote
best that she's ever done.
she brought it. Like
Yeah.
she brought it.
She brought it and she was on fucking concept with her goddamn name, which is about goddamn time that it happened. And then, Greg, I hope you like Tool. Because if for some reason you don't have enough Tool, don't you worry. La Coco has a fucking goddamn coat outfit thing made out of nothing but it. Layers and layers and layers of roughly Tool all over. It swallows her in the best way possible.
And then she reveals to a beautiful but simple dress, but
Mhm.
the effect worked. It made her seem like the most elegant out of the three, and it
Yes.
also made her seem like a winner, which
Yes.
I felt it. I thought everything she did this episode was, this is me as a winner, and
Mhm.
I thought it was a great strategy.
Yes. We get into Alyssa Edwards, blah blah blah. We talked about that a little bit. They get into individual songs. Let's cover them briefly. Chloe, she does a song that allows her to show off her tits and her choreography numbers. Applaud yourself. I gotta be honest. Out of all the ones, I think I like Chloe's the most. I thought she had the best choreography. She had the
Mhm.
most energy. I thought it was. She really brought it. I was very impressed.
I thought it was the best song. I
Yes,
thought that Vampy and Lococo's choreography were better and that they were like
a little bit
neck
more
and
dynamic.
neck. Like, yeah, I just and also Chloe's wig fell off. And
I wasn't sure if that was intentional, but
mm, mm,
because I
mm,
wasn't sure if she's gonna pull off the cap and there'd be something else there, but they can't
no,
all be Evie Oddly.
no, she would have done it, and the dancer would not have picked up the wig and brought it over to her. So that was the a friend of mine was watching this morning, and he will be listening to this, but he watched it and he said, "Oh, that's when she lost it. That's why she's not in the final with
Yeah,
Lococo." Because
I
they loved Chloe. The hobbies loved Chloe more than they loved Vampy. So
yeah
they would have wanted it to be between Chloe and Lococo. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Sorry
yeah.
again.
Well,
Drink every time I say we're getting ahead of ourselves. But I did think that I just thought it was, you have this stunning outfit, you have all this choreography. Did you not pin your wig? Did you not
right?
glue it? You're supposed to. Most girls will put plastic like
Duct
reverse
tape.
uh
Yeah,
glue tape around their head and then put it on so it does not fall off. And I was like, did you not do that? Were you in a rush? Like it you knew you were doing all these things in the choreography. I was shocked. I was like, she had glowed up so much. It was like the one amateur move. I was like, oh, yeah. It
yeah,
was a,
which is not
yeah.
befitting of a Drag Race superstar of Espana, rest assured. And it sucks too because
Maybe Thailand.
maybe. And I think that's truth because like Vampy, she had much more of a burlesque style showgirl number, lots of feather things, and it just. I mean, it was fine. I mean, none of the girls did bad over here, but I just thought on a technical level, I enjoyed Chloe's more, minus her slip up, because Vampy's was just very fine. I don't know. I kind of wanted for all the people that love Vampy. There's a lot of people that love Vampy. I just was expecting more out of it, and even then, she seemed a little bit hesitant in the performance. I don't know.
I will say this, my judging, I did not think that the judges and Alyssa's reaction that they were live cutting to, again, they're live cutting, they're not adding this really in later, that the live cutting, that they were they were blown away by Vampy's performance. Sometimes, I'll say this. 75% of the time, stuff you see on TV looks better on TV than it did in person. But there's
Mhm.
another 25%, sometimes when it's performance, where if you're in the room and you're seeing it, especially from a complete wide angle, it is more impressive. And I think the entire performance she did with that choreography, with the feathers and walk in the just the movement in the space, may have seemed more impressive in the room.
I would agree with that. And that was, yeah, that was, it's just, I wanted more. But again, this is, we're
No,
talking
that's
about
all
the
right.
TV version because that's the one that's getting sent out here
Yep.
to all of us. So I don't feel bad about that.
Don't feel bad.
Exactly.
Good.
And then we get to Coco's number, La Calle Soy Yo. And I enjoy it. I like they all use the dancers pretty well. And the dancers, with Chloe's, I don't think she was outshone by them. I think she was with them. With Vampy's, I think the dancers absolutely outshowed her. And I thought with Coco, she was, for the most part, able to hold up, to this, multi-layered, song that they're doing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, 100%. I thought they did a great job. I thought she did a really good job, and um I again, she kept her outfit simple. She made it about the song. I didn't think the song was as good as Vampy. It wasn't a bad song, but it was very much a like I'm a winner song. This is what I do. Like I think
Mhm.
I wrote some like some of her. Oh, you know what? Lococo's wig was frizzy. I
Yeah.
know
He loves the frizzy
we're
wig,
being
though.
so detailed,
Yeah.
but you're picking a winner, and it sort of distracted me, and it was not like her, and I was sort of shocked. Like it
Mhm.
was, I'm sure she saw it on television and went, "Holy fuck!" Like she probably didn't realize it was doing
Yeah.
that. But yeah. Anyway,
But there's no way she wasn't going to be in the top. And hey, guess what? That's exactly what happens. They go from a top three to a top two. And unfortunately, due to a malfunctioning wig outfit, Chloe does not make it on there. The top two is Lococo and Vampy. And I'll be honest, it's the kind of thing where in the course of the season, we've talked about some of the eliminations that have been gone on so far. As much as we really didn't like Angelita, she held herself in the way that she was a winner, that she was kind of, like a bad bitch who could potentially be up
yeah,
there. It's weird because, like Vampy being top two, I just don't, it doesn't feel like she's a top two kind of girl. I kind of felt this way a little bit too in the US seasons when Candy Muse was the top two of her original season and top two with All Stars, where it's just like, she's the unique queen, she's distinct, she's not my personal cup of tea, but she just didn't feel like a top two kind of girl. And that's the kind of thing where here, I'll be honest, like, Lococo is kind of the only choice here because I love like Chloe Vitu out of everyone. I mean, Lanina was my queen, as we know, but Chloe Vitu in the top two also would have felt a little weird too because it's just like we're just bowing down to Lococo at this point. Like it
yeah.
just feels, kind of incongruous with the narrative.
I mean, I think anything could have happened, but I also, I mean, it's also they're making television. The whole idea is
Yes.
make television, and you want to create a winner's storyline for someone who deserves to be a winner. I would have also said it's very much like when Lady Camden made it to the finale versus Willow Pill, and there was no way Lady Camden was ever winning. Um, and I was there. I was at that Vegas finale watching it live, and she actually like was fantastic until she couldn't get her outfit off. And the
Mhm.
editors actually made it look not as bad as it was in real life. But she was sort of killing that final lip sync. And you went for a second, you were like, oh my God, she might win this. She might beat Willow. She was so, and then that happened, and it was like, oh, like there was no way. Because
She
Willow is
is.
sort of, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but Camden is still, even though she placed second, is still one of the only queens to win $50,000 for placing second. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel too bad.
I didn't feel too bad for her. But I did feel like the one thing before we get to lip sync, they did it a moment with their drag family in the audience.
Mhm.
And first of all, Chloe's mom was absolutely hilarious.
Mhm.
Like loud and fun and supportive of so much of their offspring. And I believe it was was it Vampy had their no, it was Lococo had their grandmother,
Grandmother. Yeah.
and that was wow. I was very moved by that. I thought that was so cool. Also, I think it was
There's a reason why your grandmother is here right now to support you.
yes, yes. But one of them had a really hot. Maybe it was Vampy. Vampy's one of their boyfriends was like
Oh,
freaking out.
I think you're thinking about Lococo because Lococo's
Oh, the
boyfriend was also
Cocos.
wearing
Yeah.
the tie and the gloves the way that she was
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like you go, Lococo. Um,
Hmm.
but anyway, I just want to talk. But before we got to the finale, I thought that was sort of incredible. And but they get to the finale, and um Also, before the finale, I think I'm gonna say what you were going to say is that last year's winner, Petita, comes out in this stunning like purple and lavender dress that she cannot walk in.
But like, I remember explicitly Sharon coming back with kind of a meh kind of
Yes.
outfit where it's just like, God damn, you didn't you fucking win the goddamn season? Very Christian Peralta.
Yeah.
And I was very happy because I'm like, Petita, you are a fashion girl. You better fucking bring it. And I was so happy to see that she did, in fact, bring it.
It was an absolute stunning outfit. I wish she had done an updo and not that sort of
That kind of that split flat.
90s
Yeah.
like
The only thing, it was still great though.
still great.
Yeah, I was very
Especially
happy.
she posted some incredible photos that she did in Madrid with that outfit. She lives in Barcelona, but she was a bit. Also, I saw her last spring perform live. I don't know if I brought that up in the podcast before when I was randomly in Barcelona. I know name dropping. It's listen. I know. Let's go to Cannes. You need to go to some city beforehand to adjust, and I went to fucking Barcelona. Whatever. Anyway, now that I've seen her live, I just know how tall she is. And on the show, it didn't for some reason she didn't seem as tall. I think that was a
At all.
super tall. There was a
Yeah.
super tall Espana cast, like season
3.
three. And on this stage, all I can look at is like, you are so tall, and Lococo is so short. Like that's all that just pops to me. Um, I think Vampy was like in between.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yes.
Let's wrap this up.
So now she finally gets around to a final lip sync. It is the Mamma Mia España Nina version of the winner takes all, Lococo versus Vampy. Vampy is in a very dramatic hood. Lococo is in a very standard Lococo outfit, which is of course gorgeous and frizzy, as we know. They get into it there. Vampy's makeup, her eye makeup is still like going up to her forehead, which is certainly an interesting move. That was one of the first things that I clocked about it, but while she's doing that, Lococo, she has multiple tear stain dripping padding handkerchiefs that she has, one of which she lights on fire, completely removing away the power of La Bella Vampy's reveal, which is that her cape opens up to a dress.
I
Awesome.
have to say I was more impressed. I thought it was dramatic and worked for the narrative, and I liked
Mhm.
that it was simple but super effective. I did
Yeah.
think Vampy did a good job. I think Vampy, because of her makeup, is not an emotive drag queen. It's her makeup hinders her. And
Yes.
I was rooting. Lococo is my girl. I've been rooting for her since she was being snotty and sort of a bitch since episode 1 or episode 2. But I really thought she did a great job, and I Lococo had a moment where I wrote it down. She goes in the song the character says I lose it, and Lococo doesn't say it. She covers her mouth like she doesn't lip sync it, and the judges know exactly what she's talking about because she's saying I'm not going to lose this, and the crowd goes wild. And if you're American or English speaking, you don't speak Spanish, you missed that. But that was one of the reasons the crowd went nuts. It was because of so Lococo bodied her. Like she won this hands down.
Hmm. And so she ends up winning. It is not a surprise at all, and I think deservedly so. Overall, I mean, she has a lovely speech at the end. She gets very emotional, walks it, and I think it's overall a very successful finale. Overall, the live setting helps out. Every finale should be a live finale. I think we've established that. And then overall, I'd say it was a good season. I'd say this is definitely one of the better Spanish seasons. I'd say.
I think it was really good. We should also mention Drag Sethless, nowhere to be found at the finale.
Well, she'll probably crown down the next Espana All Stars winner or
Oh,
something. I don't
if
know.
yes, if she comes out of hiding. I uh I did think it was a very good season. I still think it was definitely I thought it was better than last season. I think Petita got a bad rap. I thought she's a great queen who sort of had some issues with her co-stars and it didn't really always work out the way they wanted it to, production wanted it to on season 3. But as someone who was not a fan of season 2, well, I thought season 2 was great until Sharon won, who I was not a fan of. But, to me, Lococo is the second best winner this franchise has had. that if they do an all winners for Global All Stars, if that ever happens in the fan streams, if it can't be Carmen, it's not Sharon, it's not Petita, it is Lococo. And
Yes.
you send Lococo because Lococo she can do it all. And I think when we started the podcast, I think I made a point about how if you looked at all the queens on this season, Lococo was the one that the Javis love, like her archetype. She's smart,
100%.
she's fashion, she's sophisticated, she can dance, she can sing. I don't know if she could sing, but she has an aesthetic that they love, and it doesn't always win, but she's so in their wheelhouse. I would have been shocked if Lococo had stumbled and somehow not made it to the finale. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think that the thing is that she just had that confidence, and I think as you clocked early on in Worldwide T, which again we've been covering this one since the start too,
Yeah.
is that she just carried herself as a winner. She just had that vibe of what a winner should be. And again, when I talk about how Vampy and Chloe, how they don't feel like they're top two queens for me, I still hold that too because I feel like are kind of incubating a little bit. I think they have clear aesthetics, but I think they can improve it further, as evidenced by one of them changing their name literally in the course of a finale.
Yeah.
But La Nina did have that extra X factor for me as well. And there's a couple other scenes on the season, even though they got out of there early. Clearly, the queens thought La Porca and Miss Cristo were going to be more competition than they were. But that's the beauty about Drag Race. Sometimes you never know. Sometimes it's a genuine surprise. And overall, I'd say it's a good time. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad it's over to a degree because my goodness, we've been covering so many. And
Yeah.
two more will be ending next week. But
Woo!
before we go, we do have our thing that we do at the end of every single episode, which is to talk about and recommend you check out a queen who is incredible, who is either a Rue girl or a non-Rue girl, but not from the United States of America, ideally. And I'm going to ask you, Greg, who you got for this week.
Before I say who this week's one, this queen is, I'm going to do a callback to one of my earlier queens for an update for people in the U.S. So Juno Birch, who was one of my picks, who is now a legendary sort of like travels all over the world, has a new tour, and she will be coming to the United. She's actually going to the UK and Europe and the US, but she will be here in both. I think it's she's coming like you can go to junobirch.com and her tour dates are there. I don't even think they're on sale yet. I think it's like next week. But she's coming to the US the end of April through early May. In fact, I think Los Angeles is one of her last LA dates. So if you get a chance, do your best and try to get tickets. Her performances, I've seen her twice. Her show is incredible. She is a conceptual queen and it's totally great. My queen for this week, because we are covering the ESPANYA finale, is perhaps a queen that we might talk about, in the upcoming weeks when we review the year, is the one and only Sagittaria, who
Yeah.
was at the finale, looked fabulous, had a red headscarf on the whole time, as though she was out of a Pedro Almodovar movie. Like she did a great. If you go to her Instagram, which is it's Sagittaria, I think. We'll put the link in the both
Oh,
the
notes,
podcast and our notes.
as
Um,
always.
but she, when she was on season one, she got a lot. Season one of Espana, she got a lot of comparisons to Aquaria because her makeup was very similar to Aquaria's. She is definitely not Aquaria. Her style has sort of developed in its own way. But she is a fashion icon, and it's what she cares about, and it's why she's so good. And one of the most redeeming things about Espana All Stars, which was certainly entertaining, was that her runways were utterly incredible. And that's what makes it, I think, so hard for Evan and I, and maybe other fans of all the franchises, to watch some of these other franchises where it's just that it's not even close. It's like so far away in the aesthetics. But all drag is valid.
Mhm.
But check her out. I'm pretty sure she's going to be at DragCon UK if you are somehow in the UK or Europe going to that. And she has gone to DragCon LA before. No one knows if she'll be coming this year. But I love her, and I would love to see her get a redemption on Global All Stars or UK versus the World 3 or something. I would just love to see her wipe the experience of Espana All Stars 1 sort of from our memory.
Yeah. Even though we still love a lot of things that happen on there, but yes, we do
Yes.
we understand why it went down that way. And so for my queen, I'm picking someone who's not a Rue girl, and hopefully we will see her on a future Filipina season. I'm going to go with a queen who it's the thing where there's always queens who could do splits, there's always queens who could do flips and whatnot, but I do believe it was on season 15 when Nitra referred to herself as a stunt queen. And the
Mhm.
thing is, a stunt queen, if you're gonna call yourself the stunt queen, you gotta bring it. And let me just tell you that every single video I've seen of Queen Tyra, Queen with a K, Tyra with two A's, has been jaw fucking dropping. It's not just the backbends. It's not just the splits into the other splits. It's the fact that she's able to actually lip sync to "Call Me Mother" and A, know the words, and B, also be able to rise up from the floor into a half back bend without her backhands actually supporting her. Like there's some videos of her that are just absolutely fucking insane. As far as I can tell, she's not part of any of the Filipino drag houses like House of Ding or anything else that I've seen so far. But she has been in videos with Kiana and a couple other queens who've been out there on the scene, perform with Zimba Ding and others that we know and love as well. But just truly jaw-dropping stuff from her. I love a good stunt queen. We'll also put her link in the show notes as well.
Well, I definitely want to look her up. I've not heard of her. She sounds awesome.
Yeah, she's
Um,
fantastic.
Evan, that's fantastic. But we've made it through. We've only two more that are going to end next week, and then it's Brooklyn, Brad, and Tracy. You're gonna carry us through.
Yes, and we'll have a bunch of other fun goodies for all of you who listen. But in the meantime, thank you to everyone who's followed us on our Instagram page, who's followed us and left reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other places that you get your stuff. And the only thing that we're gonna say is stop relying on that body and let your inner light shine through. I gotta keep saying it until it's over and I have to come up with a new one. But either way, thank you everybody so much for listening. Have a good one. We will catch you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.